All right, everybody. I'm here. I'm up. I'm live. I'm going to turn this on. Let's see. I'm on live local news 12.
Died after he was stabbed multiple
It
times.
looks like it's
Police tell us
just
crowds
the local
continued
news so
arriving Sunday
far.
at Brookdale Medical Center, and first responders rushed
I'm going to put it on mute for a second. Okay. So I'm not sure if it's going to start at like 9 o'clock or what, but I figured because I saw a lot of people were saying 9:45, and you know I'm bad with time zones. So I wanted to make sure that I just go with that in case it's 15 minutes early. Now I see I found a news article on the main news page. Let me see if it'll let me play it. Um right now it looks like they're just doing the weather. I don't know if it's going to be somewhere special. I don't know. I thought it was yesterday and forgot yesterday was Sunday, even though I titled the video Sabbath. I'm a ding dong. I'll show you what this says about the press conference. Hold on. Let me take this down. Also, good morning, everyone. Good morning. So, as you know, this is traditionally my evening. I took about a 2-hour nap. I fell asleep with Hugin on my lap. I woke up to him farting. His fart woke me up. It was that bad. It was very eggy. I did not appreciate. And here's the thing, even if we are a little late, that's fine. I'm hoping the internet doesn't lag. I'm hoping the roofers don't actually show up. They haven't. They were supposed to come back. I don't know if they gave up. I don't know what happened. But let's see what this says. Also, we're here this morning because I wanted to do my first, I guess, live reaction. I don't know what you call it. It's so cheesy. I don't know what to call it. Yeah, right in the eyes, dude. I'm gonna get fucking some sort of pink eye. Everything is lagging today. It's got to be StreamYard, man. It's always, this is why I like to stream in the middle of the night. Aside from the obvious, one of the reasons, even though I know the numbers are low, it's like, yeah, people can watch it later, you know? But it's just the volume of data on friggin' StreamYard is so much lower, like data being exchanged and processed during the middle of the night than it is in the day. So there tends to be less glitches. So that, I guess, is a bonus. But yeah, I figured why not today of all days do a reaction. So I'm going to show you. Let's watch this. This is when they were talking about this morning's update, I guess. I haven't seen any of this yet, but I did see a bunch of stuff on like Reddit and other Lisk forums. So let me make sure you guys can hear this well. Let's see. I'm a little tired.
Today, we will be learning new information in connection to the Gilgo Beach murders. The Suffolk District Attorney's Office will be releasing that new information about an unidentified Asian male whose remains were found more than a decade ago.
Well, there you go.
We spoke to a retired NYPD
So we know.
detective and an adjunct professor at John
Let me
Jay
pause this.
College. He believes.
So I didn't know last night that they announced that on the news, on the news. I read two journalists who frequently update the case. I read their blogs and I pay attention to stuff they tweet. That's one of the ways I found out. And then I saw someone posted about it on Reddit, and quite a few people who follow these journalists. One of them, I showed her page. I'll link her below. They were talking about this, and I was like, well, I trust them, right? So, like I told you guys, if you see someone who's always right, especially a reporter, follow them and trust them, until they lead you astray. But that's the way I do it. And yeah, anyway, didn't know they announced on the news it would be about Asian male. That's exciting. Now we know for sure. All right, let's keep going. At least we think we know for sure. Sometimes he hits us with a swerve up there. That
To a retired NYPD detective and an adjunct professor at John Jay College. He believes that the DA will be showing a Asian doe whose remains were recovered along Ocean Parkway back in 2011.
Right now, they don't have enough, so they're just doing any resources available. And this new sketch that they did, I know they did one in the past, but this will be more forensically correct for the victim's remains. I believe the skull, and that's what they're going to release to the public.
As we've reported, investigators estimate the man died 5 to 10 years before his remains were found. They believe he was in his late 20s or late teens rather, or early 20s at the time of his death. Again, this was back in 2011 that they found his remains. The DA is holding a press conference at 10 o'clock this morning with that new information.
10 o'clock.
You can watch that live here on News 12 and, of course, always on the free News 12 app.
Their 10 o'clock is my
now
9 o'clock. Okay, their 10 o'clock is my 9 o'clock. So it's going to happen soon. I'm assuming they're going to play it on their local news station, right? Well, that's cool. We can just watch local Long Island news until then. Or I can say hi to all of you. Hello, everybody. Hello. And I saw Sunny. I saw your comment up there. I agree, but I think when it hits CODIS, right? Because NamUs is like, what, 17% or 33 at most of all cases. So I think when it hits CODIS, we're going to see a lot more because don't they have weird laws over there? I need to get the specifics. I've had a few arguments about it and I kind of gave up, but I believe they can't run it until he's convicted, right? I'm not sure. It's kind of odd. It's definitely not like here. Good morning, everybody. It's so nice to see all of you. Why is the internet okay. See, this is I just hope it looks good and sounds good. If I'm cracking up or if it sounds shitty, just put banana in the chat. That's the safe word, okay? And I am going to take this screen down. Good morning, everybody. And I'm going to share this one, hoping that it is correct. And we will get rid of the chat so we're not worried about that. Let's get that big. Okay, so are you guys excited about this press conference? I know it sounds weird to say excited, but it's sad, obviously, but it's also exciting that they might be identifying someone that can give us a little more to go on, I guess, when snooping on this case. The Nodes have a case of the Mondays. I know the Nodes are always out to get me. That's my girl, Erin. Who's your girl, Erin? The news lady. Au gratin. And also with you, Sunny Lynn. How did this turn into a potato Catholic mass? I'm so tired. I woke up and I was like, Hugin farts. It's really like, I'm telling you, it's a lot. Rest in peace, Asian doe. I know, dude. Rest in peace, Asian doe. It's going to be nice to be able to call them by their names too. You know, it is sad. I'm excited for us to know who this person is so that we can, I guess, mourn them properly, even though we don't really know them. Uh-oh, breaking news. What is this? Oh, it's just telling us. I'll keep it on low. Can you guys hear me okay when it's on really low? Or does it, the auto volume lowering and going up and down? Hey, in case you guys don't know, today, here you go. It will go live? Okay, excellent. I'm going to hit live on this because for some reason it's not. All right. Let me turn this down. I'm going to mute this until we see it for sure. We've got about 6 minutes. So the Long Island serial killer case, it's a case that has been going on in Long Island for a while since they found bodies in 2010, 2011. They started searching for a young lady who went missing, who was originally from New Jersey, but she did work in the sex work industry. She had a driver with her. She ended up basically calling 911 over a situation potentially with someone, whether it was the John who called her, and it was on a place called Oak Beach, which is along the beach of Long Island going pretty much. There's Oak Beach, Gilgo, and it goes all the way up. There's Fire Island. It's just like a long string of beaches, right? And each one has its own little parts. So she goes missing. Her mother and a man who you know, he can be insufferable at times, Mr. John Ray, but at the beginning, he was very, very at the forefront, along with the mother of the victim, trying to find her. Police also had a search dog that was looking one day, and in an attempt to find her remains, they came across her items and I guess her bones, her remains. It was right after a hurricane. I believe it was actually a year after she went missing, right? So it was 2010 she went missing, and then 2011. I'm a little funky with dates because I just woke up. But anyway, they end up searching for her remains, and instead of finding her remains, I'm so sorry, they find other people. In fact, they find like a lot of people. They find the bones of all these different women, spaced apart. They end up not finding her remains right away. They found her, I believe, last, right? They ended up finding it was 11 different bodies, if I remember correctly. But that is if you include also, there are 3 other sets of remains at the end that had been since the 90s. So it was girls that were sex workers, spanned over 2 to 3 decades, really. All their bones found. Shannon's, the whole reason for the search, kicked off, and that's how they found all these other victims. So you'll often hear when we're talking about this, me say something like, you know, if it wasn't for John Ray or for Shannon, it is likely that these victims wouldn't have been found because of that. You know, if the search dog hadn't been out there, I think his name was Blue. I can remember his name, but I can't remember really important specifics this morning. If that dog hadn't been out there looking for Shannon, they wouldn't have found all of these. And I believe they found them. It was chunks of, at first it was 3, and then it was 4, and then it was a little bit, and then it was a few more. And they just kept finding bones at the beach, and they were spread out, but they were also in a little group of clusters. Like the 3 older finds were at the top, I guess you could say, the north part, if I remember correctly. And then all the others were south, but then there was Karen Vergata, and there was also some over in Maynardville. Now, some of these were attributed to John Bitteroff already, but people wanted to attribute them to all of them to him because of the situation in how they were found, the brutality, and people couldn't seem to believe that there was more than one serial killer in one spot. But Rex Heuermann was found. He was found through genealogical DNA searches done that traced back to him. And basically, the reason that they were able to do that is because his wife, her hair, and possibly a partner or an old roommate's hair were found on some of the bodies. That DNA came back. They then were able to obtain pizza crust and compare that, and they found that it was him, because the likelihood of it being a female, even though their hair was found on the bodies, slim to none. They were also able to use a fuckload of digital forensics involving burner phones and ping technology, if you will, ping tracing, and a slew of other things to trace it all back to him after the fact, after raiding his hoarder situation of a house. Now, his wife and kids happened to be out of town every single time one of these kills took place, so they are in the clear. But there is argument on whether or not the wife and kids actually support him. They've stated really nothing much other than through a lawyer at one conference in ACES stating specific things to the paper. And that's where we are now. Here we go. Let's see. I feel like it's about to start any moment now. Also, thank you, Amy Thorpe, for becoming a new member. Welcome, welcome. But yeah, we're going to watch a press conference. They seem to every couple of months. Thank you so much, Rock Chalk. Good morning. Are you in the bus? Thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Every couple of months with this case, they seem to put that off. They seem to announce more and more people attributed to him. And sometimes they'll clear people, but not really just right out, you know, allude to it. So we're going to see what's going on. And I think it should start any minute now. And I'm very invested in this crime because when it happened, it will be on his Instagram. Okay, let me pull that up. I'm very invested in this because when it happened, this is one of those cases that I happen to be really heavy into doing OSINT on and posting in Web Sleuths and all these different forums about it. And just kind of got obsessed with it, and I found some old John's accounts, and other people have found this too, where Johns would talk about some of the women that are involved in this case. In fact, one in particular that had ran what they called a scam to rip off some Johns, and there were threats literally right before she went missing. There were threats posted about her on these forums, and I tipped them in along with a couple of other people. So I've been invested in this bad boy for about 13 years, and you might have seen me talking about it with Miss Melanie Little, who, here we go, who is also live now. So go check her out if you want to watch this later.
To provide answers to the families of murder victims.
Oh, this is horrible.
So today we're asking for the public's help in
Horrible
identifying an individual who has been known as Asian Joe. They were found on Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach in 2011, and despite our best efforts, this person still remains nameless. And by nameless, I mean to us, to members of the task force. This person certainly had a life and loved ones and friends who knew them by their name. And it's important that this victim get their name back, and just as importantly, the people who cared for this individual get answers. So we are hopeful that with this new information and the community's assistance, we will be able to identify Asian Doe and bring a resolution to the case.
All right, I am going to pause it in between a little bit. If you want to watch the whole thing live, you can go to Live News 12 New York. I'm going to dip out and let it go for a minute. But I just want to say the quality sucks. It's fucking terrible. They in a high school gym? Why are they doing this to us? They should have known. I'm pretty pissed off. Why don't they have a sound guy? Am I being too picky? I don't know. I'm going to keep it as loud as possible when they are on. But oh my fucking God. Like, I'm going to definitely clean up this audio for sure and repost this with really good audio in addition to me, and probably send it to them with better improved audio and be like, fucking fix your life, bitches. All right, let's keep going.
Before I get into the meat of the press conference, I just want to thank the task force members who are here. Obviously, my team, Chief Investigator Rich Zacharis, and our ADAs, investigators and analysts. We have NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I want to thank them for their assistance. They're not present at the press conference, but as you'll see, they were integral in with their assistance in this case. In this instance, we also have our partners from the Suffolk County PD, Commissioner Rob Waring. Actually, Rob Waring's to my left, sneaky. Chief of Detectives Daryl Simmons, as well as Deputy Inspector.
Oh, sneaky ass Rob Waring. Jesus. All right, I'm gonna make this big and dip out for a second, but I'm gonna be listening along with you, okay? I just want to check and see if the Instagram feed is somehow better, if there's like a better sounding link.
Inspector Sean Barron and their team of investigators. We have the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office. We have the New York State Police led by Lieutenant St. Drew, and you're going to hear from Lieutenant St. Drew in a moment. We also have the FBI and their team. We thank them for their assistance. We have Senior Supervising Resident Agent Don Ospacker and some investigators on the Gilgo Task Force. We thank them for their assistance and for their presence. The Secret Service, we want to thank them for their help. They're not present at this press conference, but they've been helping with the electronic evidence. We also have received, in this instance, assistance from the New York City Police Department, who are not here. But again, we want to help. Thank the NYPD for helping us gain access to the significant Asian population in the city. Now, before I get into that new information, I just wanted to discuss with you all where you can find the visuals that have been provided to my left. The new information and visuals provided here today will be provided to the press. They will be posted on NCMEC's website and their Help ID Me Facebook page. And again, this is a place where members of the public can go and look at pictures and information concerning missing victims of crime and provide law enforcement with information. There's also a BICAP public webpage and law enforcement repository. BICAP is the Violent Criminal Apprehension Bureau, and that is run by the FBI. And so you could go on their website, provide information, learn information. And of course, it is available right now on my website, the district attorney's website, as well as our social media. And this information includes updated forensic reconstruction images of Asian Doe, which were provided by NCMEC, descriptions of the clothing of the victim, which he was wearing at the time of death, a picture of the various clothing labels of the clothes that were worn, new genealogical data, as well as information as to the victim's age, height, and gender identity information. Now, with regard to the initial investigation in this case, the remains of Asian Doe were discovered on April 4th, 2011. They were found, the skeletal remains were found on Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach in New York, I believe found in between, just closest to Megan Waterman. The initial examination revealed the following. The victim was a biological male of Asian descent. The victim was between the ages of 17 and 23. So there he was a teenager or very young adult when the murder occurred. And he was about 5'6" tall, give or take a couple of inches either way. Unfortunately, this victim suffered a violent death. The cause of death was homicide by blunt force trauma. We know the death occurred during or prior to 2006, and that those remains were on Ocean Beach for at least 5 years before being discovered in 2011. So the actual murder occurred based on the forensic examination of the remains in 2006 or earlier. Some of this information is being released for the first time, specifically the descriptions of the clothes. In this case, in this instance, we also have our partners from the Suffolk County PD, Commissioner Rob Waring. Actually, Rob Waring's to my left, he's sneaky. Chief of Detectives Daryl Simmons, as well as.
Well, great. You guys couldn't hear me. We didn't freeze. I paused it and I was talking, but I forgot that I was pulled out, so you couldn't hear me. Here's what I was saying. I was saying he was doing some fucking Scott Steiner math, and I want to go back and listen to his math again, because he stated 2011, obviously, when Asian male Jane Doe was found, or John Doe was found, in Jane Doe clothing, how they had been discovered in 2011, but they would have basically, they were at least 5 years old, the discovery, so they could have been murdered around 2006, which makes total sense. But in the past, people have posited that it would be 2001 to 2006. So I just want to hear what he said again on the possibilities. He also gave information on height, weight, all these different things, potential age, stuff like that. So I want to go back and hear that one more time. I do apologize.
Deputy Inspector Sean Barron and their
And also that Rob Waring guy is sneaky, apparently.
Of investigators. We have the Suffolk County Sheriff's Office. We have the New York State Police led by Lieutenant St. Drew, and you're going to hear from Lieutenant St. Drew in a moment. We also have the FBI and their team. We thank them for their assistance. We have Senior Supervising Resident Agent Don Ospacker and some investigators on the Gilgo Task Force. We thank them for their assistance and for their presence. The Secret Service, we want to thank them for their help. They're not present at this.
All right, I want to pause for this too, because I want to talk to you a second about why that's important, what he just said. The Secret Service, I want to thank them for that, for their help. What does that tell us? That tells us a lot. The Secret Service only gets involved in cases like this when it comes to very specific tasks, because overall their job is what? To guard the president and to do very specific things that typically aren't related to these kinds of investigations, right? So why would the Secret Service be involved? Because the Secret Service has the best technology on earth for cell phone data extraction and digital forensics. They are the top of the pile. They are the best of the best. If you thought Cellbrite was good, Secret Service can eat their ass. Like, they fucking rule. They will get all your data. They work primarily on a lot of child sex exploitation cases and cases that involve a ton of digital forensics, especially stuff going back to like the 80s and 90s. So him thanking the Secret Service is important because that's telling us they are not fucking around with this task force, which is why when people don't trust the modern task force, and by modern, I mean post Burke, when homie over here got involved and that lady that was real, we're going to find who has this belt, her. When that shit started popping up, that's when we started seeing movement in the case, because they specifically took help from who? The FBI, the Secret Service, people who could help. And before, Burke didn't want to do that. Again, I've been fucking following this case since the day they found the first body. I'm pretty obsessed with it. And I probably tipped in more on this case than any other case. Well, no, I would say this is the second highest tipped in case I've tipped stuff in on. I don't know what tips they took, but I do know for a fact that quite a few of us tipped in the early escort ads where the Johns threatened to kill one of the girls that quickly went missing, and they even identify her exact house. That was a lot. I believe that was Amber Costello's. And I do believe that Rex was potentially in the Big Doggy forums and the Long Island Escorts forums, watching and monitoring those threats. And I just think that it's very important that we stop and we go, now the Secret Service is involved. I think now is the best time. If you do know something about this case, or you do have a tip, this is the time to call it in while the big dogs, and I don't mean that as a callback, I mean that seriously, while the big fucking top flight motherfuckers are here. So if you do know anything about it and you're afraid for some reason, tip it in now while there are people who can protect you. Don't wait for it to be back in the hands of the locals, should that happen. I don't think it will, but should that happen, right now's the time. Let's keep going.
This press conference, but they've been helping with the electronic evidence. We also have received, in this instance, assistance from the New York City Police Department, who are not here. But again, we want to help. We want to thank the NYPD for helping us gain access to the significant Asian population in the city. Now, before I get into that new information, I just wanted to.
There's another hint. NYPD, significant Asian population within the city. I don't think he's necessarily talking about Long Island so much as I think what he's talking about is Manhattan. We've discussed this before a little bit. We've touched on this, but there's a whole different, it's not really a lane. I say that too much. There's a whole different situation going on, almost a completely entirely different sex work economy, separate of everything else you see in almost every city when it comes to the Asian population, because a lot of the trafficking and or sex work and the exchange of goods and services for, adult means or for trafficking means tends to happen more underground. It tends to happen via massage parlors and in specific areas. So it's something that sets this victim a little bit apart from the others and really made it difficult for police. But I think it is very important that he's discussing right now the area and who worked with him. And that specific borough where there is a high Asian population that does have a very, very, very high amount of cases involving sex trafficking and prostitution, them working with that within the city, quote unquote, kind of can tell you a little bit about where they think this victim came from. Let's keep going.
Discuss with you all where you can find the visuals that have been provided to my left. The new information and visuals provided here today will be provided to the press. They will be posted on NCMEC's website and their Help ID Me Facebook page. And again, this is a place where members of the public can go and look at pictures and information concerning missing victims of crime and provide law enforcement with information. There's also a BICAP public webpage and law enforcement repository. BICAP is the Violent Criminal Apprehension Bureau, and that is run by the FBI. And so you could go on their website, provide information, learn information. And of course, it is available right now on my website, the District Attorney's website, as well as our social media. And this information includes updated forensic reconstruction images of Asian doe, which were provided by NCMEC, descriptions of the clothing of the victim, which he was wearing at the time of death, a picture of the various clothing labels of the clothes that were worn, new genealogical data, as well as information as to the victim's age, height, and gender identity information. Now, with regard to the initial investigation in this case, the remains of Asian doe were discovered on April 4th, 2011. They were found, the skeletal remains were found on Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach in New York, I believe found in between just closest to Megan Waterman. The initial examination revealed the following. The victim was a biological male of Asian descent. The victim was between the ages of 17 and 23. So there he was a teenager or very young adult when the murder occurred. And he was about 5'6" tall, give or take a couple of inches either way. Unfortunately, this victim suffered a violent death. The cause of death was homicide by blunt force trauma. We know the death occurred during or prior to 2006, and that those remains were on Ocean Beach for at least 5 years before being discovered in 2011. So the actual murder occurred based on the forensic examination of the remains in 2006 or earlier.
Okay, so this is why I wanted to pause it. In 2006 or earlier, there are people who believe it would have happened also within 5 years. So that would have put this around what? The time of Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack. That's very interesting. But up to 2006. So that is a very narrow time window, but there was activity similar to what happened to Asian doe happening closer that way, going towards the Pine Barrens and Maynardville and whatnot. And that's something significant to note. So let's keep going.
This information is being released for the first time, specifically the descriptions of the clothes that Asian doe was wearing at the time of death. And that although Asian doe was a biological male, Asian doe was wearing exclusively women's clothing. He was wearing a Chrysanthemum brand blue ribbed short sleeve shirt with a crew neck, size large. He was wearing a Raffaello brand shirt, size 10, and he was wearing a pair of women's pants and a bra, both by the brand Bill Blass. And with regard to the forensic reconstruction images, the task force was able to work with National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, and a forensic artist examined the victim's skull to create the facial reconstructions that you see here. And those reconstructions depict what the victim may have looked like prior to their disappearance and murder. We have two pictures of a person with short hair, one head on and one in the profile, And we have a third picture of an individual with long hair. Because the victim was wearing exclusively women's clothing at the time of death, it is possible that they identified as a woman or were known by others as being a woman. The Gilgo Beach Task Force also utilized genetic genealogy to learn more about this victim's specific ethnicity. It was previously known that this victim was of Asian descent. However, now we know that it is a strong likelihood that the victim is of Southern Chinese descent, Han Chinese descent, and Han Chinese is one of the 56 officially recognized ethnicities in the People's Republic of China. This is a significant development because unfortunately, South Asia is underrepresented in our genealogy databases, meaning there are not a lot of Asian profiles in the database. Therefore, investigative genetic genealogy in this instance is a challenge. It's a challenge to identify this victim. And so far it has proved to be difficult and has provided few leads. Hence, the purpose for us being here today. We're looking for the media's assistance, and we're looking for the public's assistance in helping us provide information on this victim to get this victim's name back. And I'll just come over. These are the pictures of the individual. We have a picture of Asian doe with short, as they would appear with short hair, and a picture of Asian doe as they would appear with longer hair. Now, with regard to outreach to the community, again, we've leaned on all our partners as we always do, but particularly in this instance, the New York City Police Department and the state troopers. We've asked for the NYPD's assistance in translating this flyer into Mandarin, into Cantonese, into Thai, and into Bahasa, which is an Indonesian language. And the NYPD will further assist in distributing flyers on the ground in the Asian communities across New York City. And again, as we know, there's a significant Asian population in New York City, so we thank them for their help. We've invited several Asian media outlets to be present here in the hopes that they can reach the Asian community directly and provide this information to those communities. Regarding our goals for doing this, this is a call to action. We want to enlist the public's help in trying to identify Asian doe. With regard to the translations, we hope that the public and the Asian media outlets will further assist us in translating and disseminating this information into additional Asian dialects, which will further aid in the process of identification. Again, this person had a name, this person had family, this person had friends. We're reaching out to anyone who might have known this individual to help us with that identification. Again, I would just add with regard to DNA databases, those who would like to help identify Asian doe or any other victim or missing persons in the Asian or any other community to help, you can upload your DNA to Family Tree DNA and into GEDmatch Pro and opt into law enforcement matching. Contrary to popular opinion, law enforcement doesn't have access to all DNA databases. And this identification, this IgG technology that we use, as you can see, we don't just utilize it to identify suspects. We also use it to identify victims and to provide closure to the families of missing victims. If you really want to help, please consider uploading your DNA profile into those 2 commercial databases, which allow law enforcement to access that information, but only with the consent of the consumer. Now, third, we ask that if you were around in the late 90s and early 2000s, think about the people you associated with. Think about the people you know. Did anyone of Asian descent go missing? We believe Asian doe may have been working as a sex worker around the time of their disappearance prior to 2006. We believe that they spent some time in New York City prior to their death. And we want to urge the public, don't discount someone just because you know them to be from somewhere outside of New York City. As we know, people often come to New York City for a myriad of reasons. Prior to 2006, this person had friends, possible classmates, or co-workers, and a family. Someone knows who this individual is, and we need that person or persons to contact us. So that's what we're asking. Again, with the help of the media, let's get these photos out, let's get this information out, and let's identify Asian Doe. Crime Stoppers is offering a $2,500 reward for information leading to the identification of Asian Doe. Anyone with information regarding this case or the identification of the victim is asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-220-TIPS, TIPS, or via email or the mobile app on the flyer. You can do so in your native language. Translation services are available. So if you have difficulty with the English language, but you have information, provide it to us in your native language, and we will translate it. Again, please share this information far and wide, and let's help get this victim identified and give this victim their name back. Prior to taking questions, I'm going to turn it over to the New York State Police. We have, as I've said, we've had Lieutenant Richard St. Preux, and he is going to introduce the Mandarin translator. Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you.
Okay. So let's go over something real quick. You guys see I've been putting in information on the Han Chinese culture specifically and the Chinese populace in New York, just so you can kind of get an idea of what we are working with. A lot of the statistics that I'm finding on this seem to be up to 2020. I would now like to look at statistics from 2006. So I'm going to be looking for those as we continue. Now, I have no doubt that there is likely, because so many of you are so talented and schooled and versed, there's likely a couple of people in chat who perhaps speak Mandarin. Or should somebody come across this video who speaks the language about to be presented here, I am going to let it play through because it's really, really good to just have that option since they're doing it. And this is a great point I was going to hit on later, but let's do it now. Tech was so different back then. Whether it was early 2000s all the way to 2006 or even beyond. Let's say they happen to be off a year or two and it's 2007. Okay. I mean, they didn't find the body till 2011. Crazier things have happened. Let's say it's even 2009 and by some remarkable instance this happened. I do think that the year they made the jewelry or perhaps the clothing, when those clothes were sold, could also narrow down the time frame a little bit better. So one thing that I'm immediately going to be looking at, I might already have some notes because I do think that they shared some of the info already. But with specific brands and tags, I think it can be really important to the case to look back at catalogs or specific websites from back then. This is a great point. He likely would have been around my age, you know. He likely would have been about, 40, 41 to 50 by now. Who knows? 40, 41 to what? 54. So this really narrows down his age at the time. If you were involved in the club scene or the gay community or any sort of, any sort of breach off of that perhaps you were surrounded by maybe people who dressed in drag, people in the trans community. If you have an Asian or a Han Chinese background, or perhaps lived in Chinatown and you know specific places that you can recall back then, that were perhaps popping for sex work or were perhaps featured on the news. One thing that I would look into, here's off the top of my head, and then we're going to continue this, but off the top of my head, first thing that clicked that made me go, I want to look into this. This is what I'm going to be looking in the next few weeks. MySpace. The chances that this person had a MySpace, I think, are dramatically higher than I ever thought before. Before, I thought perhaps could have been too young, perhaps could have been too old. Now I'm thinking perfect time. This was around the time people were also, people swapped over to Facebook, or Facebook became available for swap over. What was that, around 2007? So I think the potential for this person still having a MySpace at some point, absolutely. They're going to be Han Chinese, so there is a likelihood that they're going to write and speak in that language, but also because of their age, I think, and because of what they were doing, there is a high likelihood that they could, potentially speak pretty pretty good English. So you could see a mixture of both. Facebook 2007 to 2008. Thank you, Mia Buto. Absolutely. Craigslist, absolutely. This is also, I'm trying to think, Backpages was shut down, 2016? I don't know if it was even open then. Let me see real quick. I don't necessarily know. Here's another thing. If it is Rex, which maybe we're about to find out, who knows? But regardless, if it is specifically Rex and they say it is, then we're going to have a couple of different places that we can narrow down where he could have potentially found Asian male doe. Because Rex, being a serial killer, leaving around a lot of notes, and the profile of the other women, we can presume that he likely got it off of Craigslist. He could have gotten it off Long Island escorts, and there were a few others that are named specifically in affidavits. So I would look for old ads of Asian male escorts from 2001 to 2006 in those areas. But I would look at MySpaces that went inactive suddenly, ads for people who haven't logged in since a specific date on sites like Escort Alligator, but that were open at the time. If Backpages was a thing, maybe, but I think this could be something that's a little more forumy, if you will, like the popular forums, but I think more Craigslist potential there. There are also a couple of others. I will get my list together of them. I know I've sent one to Duty Ron and possibly Melanie of those forums, and I've got a really extensive one. I think that it is absolutely possible that a lot more can be found out now, specifically because we know what type of, because before they just said Asian male doe. Well, there's so many different, kinds of, like, are they Han? Are they Laotian? Are they Mandarin? And there's so many kinds of different possibilities that could be afoot depending on that culture. Some cultures, they are totally, it's not really a taboo. Not a lot of them, but some Asian cultures, not really a taboo to do things like sex work. And in others, huge taboo. It just kind of depends. I think somebody who is specialized in Eastern studies could be of extreme value now, knowing the Han background. It could tell us so much. It could even tell us what type of parents this person possibly had, knowing the generation and the specific lane we're talking here of Eastern heritage. We don't really, it really does change a lot, The difference between the culture and the history and the tradition between Korean and Chinese is very different. Now that we know it's Han, yes, it is, what did it say, 92% of Chinese immigrants in New York are Han. That's a lot. That's the biggest part of the population. So that kind of widens it a little bit, but also what tech was available at the time narrows it. We had LiveJournal, we had Zynga, we had what was it, Makeout Club, we had MySpace, we had Craigslist, and then all the countless random forums. I believe would have been too early for Reddit, but this really narrows it down. And there's web sleuths. So Very, very good. I wrote a timeline on Web Sleuth. Pretty sure this Joe fits between Jessica and Cherry's. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying about like the time. This would have been what? Jessica, Cherry's, Valerie Mack. And there's one more I can't remember the name of right now. Oh, Megan. This was like all kind of around that area, right? That time? No, Megan would have been much later. Never mind, not Megan. There was another. Yes, ICQ was really, really big. Shit. There was just the internet was very different back then. Very, very different. Do you think they used Parabon with the forensic artist to make these new sketches and use DNA from evidence recovered from wrecks? Seems likely to me. I don't know. I have to see the new sketches. You could shut the fuck up and watch so I can see these sketches. I can tell you right away looking at the sketch if it is. Oh, actually, did they show it to us already? Did they? And I just missed it. Oh, so this is the old sketch. Let's go back a little bit.
We know the death occurred during or prior to 2006, and that those remains were on Ocean Beach for at least 5 years before being discovered in.
Okay, so those were at the beach for at least 5 years. At least 5 years. That's very important. Interesting.
2011. So the
which means there could be at most, which means it could go back further, which is what I was thinking. I was thinking late 90s. They're saying early 2000s, which isn't too far apart, but interesting.
Actual murder occurred based on the forensic examination of the remains in 2006 or earlier.
They did, and they had Yahoo groups. There was also a period of time where it was 2 to 3 years. What was it? Google Hangouts, like shit switched, but that was like later. So yeah, I mean, I can make a list for us of everything, or we can make a list, I guess, in Discord of all the different active sites back then. But we have to remember he's saying at least 5 years. So they could have been there, what, 10 years? You know what I mean? I would definitely, if I were to make a list for this case, I would go from 96 to 2006, just to be safe. Just to be safe. Let's keep going.
Some of this information is being released for the first time, specifically the descriptions of the clothes that Asian Doe was wearing at the time of death.
And see, why do I feel like I saw a black outfit, the actual physical evidence black outfit on a missing persons forum? I thought they released it, or it was on NCMEC. I could be wrong.
And that although Asian Doe was a biological male, Asian Doe was wearing exclusively women's clothing. He was wearing a Chrysanthemum brand blue ribbed short sleeve shirt with a crew neck size large. He was wearing a Raffaello brand shirt size 10, and he was wearing a pair of women's pants and a bra, both by the brand Bill Blass. And with regard to the forensic reconstruction images, the task force was able to work with a National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, and a forensic artist examined the victim's skull to create the facial reconstructions that you see here. And those reconstructions depict what the victim may have looked like prior to their disappearance and murder. We have two pictures of a person with short hair, one head on and one in the profile. And we have a third picture of an individual with long hair. Because the victim was wearing exclusively women's clothing at the time of death, it is possible that they identified as a woman or were known by others as being a woman. The Gilgo Beach Task Force also utilized genetic genealogy to learn more about this victim's specific ethnicity. It was previously known that this victim was of Asian descent. However, now we know that it is a strong likelihood that the victim is of Southern Chinese descent, Han Chinese descent, and Han Chinese is one of the 56 officially recognized ethnicities in the People's Republic of China. This is a significant development because unfortunately, South Asia is underrepresented in our genealogy databases, meaning there are not a lot of Asian profiles in the database. Therefore, investigative genetic genealogy in this instance is a challenge. It's a challenge to identify this victim, And so far it has proved to be difficult and has provided few leads. Hence, the purpose for us being here today. We're looking for the media's assistance, and we're looking for the public's assistance in helping us provide information on this victim to get this victim's name back. And I'll just come over. These are the pictures of the individual. We have a picture of Asian doe with short, as they would appear with short hair, and a picture of Asian doe as they would appear with longer hair.
Okay, so first of all, thank you so much, Turbo Time. God bless, God bless. Turbo Time sent me the sketches. So let's take a look at this up close, shall we? Let's take a look at this up close. Let's do it. All right. I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to share the whole screen with you, and then we will continue all of this. All right. So, and of course, we've got baby Brian in the background. All right. This is one of, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in. Okay. So this is one of the renderings. Yeah, this could be Parabon. So Parabon has a very unique sketch, although actually, Parabon could have worked with, yeah, I think this is it. I think they did use Parabon Nanolabs, or they might have just used Othram, but I think Parabon does, like when they busted that DJ, what was it, in Philly? It did look a lot like this. They tend to be colored portraits or pictures of the person when Parabon spits them out. But depending on, they also need a bulk amount, like a good amount of DNA to do those. I know that they say now we don't need that much, but really it is like they need very specific stuff. So this could be Parabon though. It does look like the computer rendering of them. Also, let me get rid of that banner that is in the fucking way. And I'm going to leave the ticker going at the bottom so that you guys, if you want to see any of the information, he said it's going to be at the Help ID Me Facebook, nicmic.org, and also the Suffolk County DA's website. So, yeah, I do think that, yeah, it is different, isn't it? It looks very, very different. Very, very different. He kind of looks like Paul Rudd. I'm not going to lie. Yeah, it's baby Brian. It's my baby Brian. He's in the background. Also, I don't know, was Ross and TJ Maxx a thing? I think it was back then. I'm having a hard time remembering. Also, God bless baby Brian. Bill Blass was budget Tommy Hilfiger. You know, it would be interesting if you know about that. If you could put in perspective for us, like some of it's hard to say because it sounds like profiling, I guess, or like judging a book by its cover. But what kind of people wore Bill Blass or wore specific brands is important. Like if you are a PacSun bitch or an Old Navy bitch, that changes a lot, right? It's very interesting to see the labels of the clothes. It can tell us a lot, really, especially about time frame. I would find, like, back then there were Delia's catalogs, remember? Like if someone's wearing Delia's clothes, you can kind of tell. You can definitely tell. Male or female, they've humanized Asian dough, and they're very beautiful, right? Pretty fucking hot, to be honest. Pretty hot. I don't know if that's okay to say, but spicy. Agree. Laughing my ass off, says Turbo Time. Thank you so much, Turbo Time. Melissa, I had your feral children song. Oh, dude, I've had it in my head for days. LOL. Pat Sanford. Oh, yeah. TJ Maxx and Ross Marshalls have been around for a long time. Yeah, but did they go back to 2001 is what I'm wondering. I remember as a kid being real stoked on, not a kid, but I guess early college, being really stoked on Ross. Bill Blass was expensive. Was it 579 expensive or was it Dillard's expensive? Hi, Pat. Would love if you sang Aunt Deb is a goddamn horror part. Oh, yeah. That'd be great. My husband had to tell me to stop. Of course he did. New sketches have a much more defined and slimmed out nose. His eyes are much more definitive. So the original sketch, I thought, looked just like Shannon Gilbert's driver, more so than anything. I was like, isn't that it really confused me. And this sketch looks like Asian Paul Rudd. But on the side, kind of looks like the hottie from Beef. If you watched Beef, you remember Beef, the main guy who she gets in the road rage incident with? And then over here, Lady Beef, hot Lady Beef. Interesting. Interesting. I don't remember those stores in New York those days. Rainbow Shop. Yes, Rainbow Shop was big. And I know that because also there was a store that sold or that Christine Belusco worked at. It could have been Rainbow, but I know that the shoes she was wearing, I think that's what someone said was a shoe that you could get at Rainbow stores. There was also like a lot of Jane Doe cases back then um where you got your clothes really could tell a lot about what area you were from based on the proximity to the nearest shop that actually had them, and you'd have to cross state lines. So back then I thought crossing state lines was a huge deal, right? And then to find out later I was wrong, I was like, well, wait, so people fucking traveled out of state? Did they live out? It never hit me that like 10 minutes you're in Jersey. Fucking forgot. I'm in Texas, you know? So I think that it's really, really important to keep that in mind. If you're from the South and you're analyzing this case, people cross state lines up there like it's no fucking big deal. To us, that's like, what? That's a 3-day affair. So perspective really matters. Melissa, I did with relish. I'm as old as dirt. I shopped at TJ Maxx in the early 90s. Okay, so we can guarantee that Mia Bito is old as fuck and fucking did a lot of crazy shit at TJ Maxx. Oh my God. What'd you do in there? What'd you buy? We got you. Okay. So we know TJ Maxx was around. So it could have been resale, or this person could have been a little had a bag, you know, a little rich with the escalating swear words. Who'd you swear at? I dropped the OG sketch for Asian Doe in the DM if you want to compare them. Ooh, we will in a little bit. But I want to show you this. This is the big one that you sent me, girl. All right. And I'm going to zoom in on it extra big. And actually, I'm such a dingus. Here we go. There we go. So let's see. Reconstructions created by a forensic artist. Oh, so it's Nick Mick who did these. Well, it has Nick Mick on it. Duh. But I thought that they worked with someone. I figured it would have been worked in conjunction with Parabon, but I guess they have their own technology there. That's fantastic. So Nick Mick did this and depict what the victim may have looked like prior to the disappearance and murder. In the event the victim identified as a female, an additional depiction is provided. So I think one thing we can tell for sure, obviously, when they were found, they likely didn't have their hair attached. And well, here's the thing. If it was a wig, the wig would have held up, or there would have been the presence of a wig, especially since she was buried, right? I think that because they're giving us options, maybe the hair had all basically the body had obviously decomposed over time, and likely there was no wig present, right? I don't know. That's what I'm curious about, because they're showing you, okay, she could have looked like this, or it could have looked like this. Makes me wonder, was there a wig present or not? If so, then we can presume he likely had short hair, right? I'm curious about that. I was hoping they'd answer that, but we'll see. Skeletal remains. Okay, so it's giving a time frame, age, weight, height, all of this. Turbo sent it to me in Discord. Turbo, can we post this in Discord? Do you mind? Here's something interesting to note. Look, that's a size large. So if you're between 5'3" and 5'9", so my height is the tallest. And then what? Miss Shorty's is the shortest. Picture a size large on them. Right here's a 10. Ooh, I would get a size 10 in this brand if I could on like eBay or maybe just like Poshmark from back then and see how big it was. And then we've kind of got a size of the frame. And then we can see, okay, if they were 5'3", they'd be about this wide. 5'9", they'd be the same width regardless. But it would just be interesting to see the perspective, the different size perspective. Okay. And then it gives you all the information on where to alert. So let's get back to this. I'm going to take myself back off. And then I'm going to put this back on. And I am going to read your chat while I play the rest of this. All right. Here we go. Let me make sure actually that I have it to where you can hear it because I had it set on something else earlier. There we go. All right, let's continue.
Now, with regard to outreach to the community, again, we've leaned on all our partners as we always do, but particularly in this instance, the New York City Police Department and the state troopers. We've asked for the NYPD's assistance in translating this flyer into Mandarin, into Cantonese, into Thai, and into Bahasa, which is an Indonesian language. And the NYPD will further assist in distributing flyers on the ground in the Asian communities across New York City. And again, as we know, there's a significant Asian population in New York City, so we thank them for their help. We've invited several Asian media outlets to be present here in the hopes that they can reach the Asian community directly and provide this information to those communities. Regarding our goals for doing this, this is a call to action. We want to enlist the public's help in trying to identify Asian doe. With regard to the translations, we hope that the public and the Asian media outlets will further assist us in translating and disseminating this information into additional Asian dialects, which will further aid in the process of identification. Again, this person had a name, this person had family, this person had friends. We're reaching out to anyone who might have known this individual to help us with that identification. Again, I would just add with regard to DNA databases, those who would like to help identify Asian doe or any other victim or missing persons in the Asian or any other community to help, you can upload your DNA to Family Tree DNA and into GEDmatch Pro and opt into law enforcement matching. Contrary to popular opinion, law enforcement doesn't have access to all DNA databases. And this identification, this IgG technology that we use, as you can see, we don't just utilize it to identify suspects. We also use it to identify victims and to provide closure to the families of missing victims. If you really want to help, please consider uploading your DNA profile into those two commercial databases, which allow law enforcement to access that information, but only with the consent of the consumer. Now, third, we ask that if you were around in the late 90s and early 2000s, think about the people you associated with. Think about the people you know. Did anyone of Asian descent go missing? We believe Asian.
Key phrase. Think about the late. Remember, I told you I've always thought it was late 90s to early 2000s. He just said, think about the late 90s and early 2000s. So I think we know the time frame now has expanded, and especially the use of at least 5 years. So I think this is a hint. He could have been more direct, in my opinion, but I mean, how much more fucking direct do you need to be? Think back to this time frame. So yeah, I do think could have been murdered in the late 90s all the way to 2001, or really honestly till 2006, right? So that broadens it a little. So we narrowed it and now we're broadening it again, but that's fine. Let's keep going.
Asian doe may have been working as a sex worker around the time of their disappearance prior to 2006. We believe that they spent some time in New York City prior to their death. And we want to urge the public, don't discount someone just because you know them to be from somewhere outside of New York City. As we know, people often come to New York City for a myriad of reasons. Prior to 2006, this person had friends, possible classmates, or co-workers, and a family. Someone knows who this individual is, and we need that person or persons to contact us. So that's what we're asking. Again, with the help of the media, let's get these photos out, let's get this information out, and let's identify Asian Doe. Crime Stoppers is offering a $2,500 reward for information leading to the identification of Asian Doe. Anyone with information regarding this case or the identification of the victim is asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-220-TIPS, TIPS, or via email or the mobile app on the flyer. You can do so in your native language. Translation services are available. So if you have difficulty with the English language, but you have information, provide it to us in your native language, and we will translate it. Again, please share this information far and wide, and let's help get this victim identified and give this victim their name back. Prior to taking questions, I'm going to turn it over to the New York State Police. We have, as I've said, we've had Lieutenant Richard St. Preux, and he is going to introduce the Mandarin translator. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Lieutenant Richard St. Preux with the New York State Police. I cover the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. I'm introducing Trooper Shin Sung Lee, who will be translating into Mandarin.
大家早上好，今天吉尔格海滩凶杀专案组请求广大群众的帮助，来辨认一具发现于2011年11月，2011年4月4日发现的受害人遗体。受害人为亚裔男性，有可能来自于中国南方，有可能为汉族。警方认为受害人的受害时间大约在2006年或者之前。该名受害人怀疑被钝器暴力击打致死。遇害时的年龄大约在17岁到23岁之间。遗体被发现时有穿着女性服装。我们呼吁广大的华人群众能够帮助警方一起辨认这名照片中的受害人以及受害人身上的衣物残留。如果在您认识的人当中有2006年或者之前的失联人员，并且与照片上的受害人样貌相似，或者是服装相同的话，请务必与苏福克郡警察局联系。我们有提供中文服务。受害人遇害时还只是青少年，在这里我们呼吁广大的华人群众能够积极的在亲友和社区之中传播我们所提供的信息，以便我们可以早日确认这位受害人的身份信息，给受害人一个公道。谢谢大家。
Thank you, Lieutenant. Thank you, Trooper Lee. With that, I'll open it up to questions. Does anybody have any questions?
All right, before we get into questions, I want to thank Turbo Time. Thank you so much, Turbo Time, you badass bitch, for giving me this idea. She gave me a great idea. She said it would be cool to see the sketches next to each other, the old and the new, right? So let me stop the screen. So Dad was tinkering around in Jeff's basement a little while ago. So thank you, Turbo Time. Great idea. And while I'm in Jeff's basement, I says, let me make the kids a little depiction so you can see the original sketch that was sent out, posted everywhere for many years, for over a decade now, of Asian male doe, and what the update is now, what they know now with technology, and why it's kind of a big deal, a big difference, how drastic this change was, and why it's going to help us. Maybe you could see the difference. Check this out. There you go. It's baby Brian. That would have been crazy. Okay. And I'm sorry, I will address your comments. I know I got far behind, but I was making you this. So at the top, okay? And also I did notice, oh my God, you guys have so many good comments. I'm going to have to go through and star a lot of these, and I'll preserve them for you. Because like this one, I don't remember a Bill Blast outlet. You guys are talking outlet malls? Fucking thank you. Exactly. That was early 2000s drip. It was all about the outlets. So that is a really, really great point. That is something that is very important. But what do you guys think seeing this? What do you guys think seeing the difference? I think it's a pretty big difference, right? Hi, Frankie Figs. Hello. This is all happening this morning. It just happened. They just did this. So DA Ray Tierney is in a middle school gymnasium shouting into the horrible sound. It's terrible sound. It's just echoey as fuck. It was a poor choice of venue, but whatever. Shouting into the echoey sounding abyss. That there is an update, and the update is he is Han Chinese. This is the new sketch here at the bottom. This is the original sketch. We went from Shannon's driver to Asian Paul Rudd. He's pretty hot. Good to know. I think it's going to be important. I think it's going to be helpful. But what's even more helpful, in my opinion, aside from this, is clothing brands. A lot of info given out. Also, it expanded it basically broke down the language barrier and expanded a potential market or demographic of people, if you will, to open up this investigation to that perhaps might not have seen it on the news, especially if they only speak Han and it's his parents and they don't watch regular news. We don't know. So very interesting. Baby Brian makes everyone laugh. He's full of joy. If you let him in, the newer sketch is more realistic. What do you guys think? $300 for a dress was expensive back then. Is that how much it was? I do wonder, did this person work at a clothing store? Did their family? Did they own one? Bill Blass was. Same category as Gloria Vanderbilt. Oh, shit. Looks nothing alike. Do you see that it isn't this very Delphi of them? But fair enough. Technology wasn't all there. But this is what I mean by this is the bottom is new task force shit. Old task force shit. You feel me? Big difference. Big difference. For a black tie event. Very interesting. Huh. A black tie event. I wonder if there were any black tie events going on the night that they were murdered. Maybe they went as a literal escort to escort someone to a black tie event. It was all old man shoes like aerosols for women. I would have messaged you, but I figured you were on top of it. Thanks. As soon as I heard the timeline in Bill Blass, I thought it was a lead that should be queried further. I do believe you are correct. He aged by 15 years in the newer sketch. I know, dude. I know, totally. To a 9-year-old, they were old man shoes anyway. When you lived in the city until didn't shop in outlets. I don't even remember them. If you couldn't find something in NYC, you were really lost. This is a good perspective to have. Great perspective. Good point, Lori Lowe. Yeah, I agree. So maybe we're not thinking outlets. Do you think it could be possible catalog? I don't know. That was more late 90s, but maybe. I think the cops really need to talk to the trans sex workers. They can from back then. But you got to remember back then, I mean, they were all getting arrested. I don't know if they're going to like the cops that much. And also, trans sex workers that operated in and around Chinatown really widens the pool of people they could talk to. But at the same time, because of specific cultures, we don't necessarily know if that's going to be something that people are going to openly want to discuss or talk about, So they do, but I think that's what they're trying to do now. I think they're trying to reach out. The new sketches are more realistic. They make use DNA to help the forensic artist, in my opinion. Could have been possible. I know here's the thing. I know a lot of the programs that are using specific genetic profiles. A lot of the software is in color because that's kind of one of the things it does. That's one of the points of it to insert the the genes into the coding in the system is to show you specific things like skin tone and eye color. So if they're not showing that, I don't necessarily know if they used genetic information so much so that Parabon would use, but I think that they used information on the Han culture maybe and on the bone structure, and they perhaps used some sort of scanning equipment on the skull. There's a couple of artists who do that's why I'm wondering, like, did they hire this one chick that was on a Forensic Files who's pretty famous for coming up with a very similar black and white. Some of them look a little sepia, but I think that's just filtering through editing for TV. But she came up with a process that does look very similar to this, but it's based on bone structure in the skull, and it's a computer program for that. And it's very, very highly accurate. But Parabon came up with the one that uses specific genetic links and stuff that has to be submitted to them, like actual physical evidence that has to be given to them, and they actually use that to create a coded profile that shows you the skin tone and eye color. So kind of wondering if this was done based off a scan of a skull, I think, or the bones themselves, or if they obviously would have taken photos of the skeleton, and that's really all they need for the type that I think we're looking at the bottom. I am curious if Parabon could get a hold of any DNA if they could do a colorized one. So good comment. Good comment. I was watching the Coast Guard mundane testimony about the oh shit. sorry. This is so much better, but middle finger to old perv. Yeah, fuck Jimmy Burke. Hello, everyone listening, doing work, undergarments. I don't know. We'll keep listening and we'll see. Outlets were later on Long Island. You weren't in the know if you shopped on Long Island. We New Yorkers set the trends. Oh, I believe it. I watched the old news back then. So Rex thought he was a woman from his ad at an escort site, potentially. I mean, I think he would have known. I think he would. I don't think this was, I don't know. I mean, it's blunt force trauma, sure. But I feel like because he searched Asian twink, that he could have been potentially looking for bisexual options, and because of a couple other things. I don't know. It's tricky. I've always wondered if see, here's the thing, if this was someone that was raged on, the blunt force trauma would make sense. I just need to, you know what, before I say anything on it, let me look at some old notes I have on this and some new stuff. And I'm just a little curious on a few things. So I don't necessarily know if it was Rex, if it sought him out or not. But also we haven't continued the conference. So I'm curious, are they going to connect this to Rex yet? Like, did I miss it or something? Because I don't know. Let's see. I'll shut up now. Let me show this. Okay. And let me close this out. All right, here we go. Back to the conference. Let's keep watching. Baby Brian.
Mr. Tierney, did Rex Schwarman, was he known to search pornography websites for Asian men or women?
So, we have a bail document which details some of the internet searches done by the defendant, and some did contain searches using similar terms that you just described. Anything else?
With the New York State Police, I cover the Bureau of Criminal Investigation. I'm introducing Trooper Shin Sung Lee, who will be
Specifically with regard to the Gilgo 4, those were uniquely, they were almost identical, and they're, unique from the other bodies.
Was there other DNA evidence found with this victim that you don't believe belonged to this victim?
There's always evidence at the scene, and we're analyzing that.
Yeah, no shit. There's always evidence at the scene. Yeah, a body, clothes. Yes, we know that, sir. She's asking a very specific question. I gotta go back a tiny bit. I'm like a little pissed off also at some of the beating around the bush. This guy's
Internet searches done by the defendant, and some did contain searches using similar terms that you just described.
Damn it. No, I want to hear the similar terms. I'm sorry. Don't ground me, kids. Well, now it'll take you forever. Oh yeah, Burlington Coat Factory was huge. It was huge. Why is it doing this? It is annoying me. Pausing and now going. Well, this is unfortunate. Come on, fucker. Where are we at? Should I hit it? Should I blow on it? Yeah, the Asian twink thing. He did Google that. Yeah, the difference in tech from now to then is unbelievable. It's really crazy. Here we go, finally. Well, fuck it. We'll just watch it from this point.
The cause of death was homicide by blunt force trauma. We know the death occurred during or prior to 2006, and that those remains were on Ocean Beach for at least 5 years before being discovered in 2011. So the actual murder occurred based on the forensic examination of the remains in 2006 or earlier. Some of this information is being released for the first time, specifically the descriptions of the clothes that Asian Doe was wearing at the time of death, and that although Asian Doe was a biological male.
I went back too far, didn't I? Dang it. How far back did when he gets to the questions? Where are we? Sorry, guys. I got twisted. A little twisted. It's fine. We'll enjoy each other's company until this shit decides to work. Easy with the choice of words, you little snot nose. What word did I use? Baby Brian? Hee 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 hee. Hee hee hee. Oh, Instagram? They got it on Instagram? Is it not fucking up on Instagram?
Labels of the clothes that were worn, new genealogical data, as well as information as to the victim's age, height, and gender identity information. Now, with regard to the initial investigation in this case, the remains of Asian Doe were discovered on April 4th, 2011. They were found, the skeletal remains were found on Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach in New York, I believe found in between just closest to Megan Waterman. The initial examination revealed the following. The victim was a biological male of Asian descent. The victim was between the ages of 17 and 23. So there he was a teenager or very young adult when the murder occurred. And he was about 5'6" tall, give or take a couple of inches either way. Unfortunately, this victim suffered a violent death. The cause of death was homicide by blunt force trauma. We know the death occurred during or prior to 2006, and that those remains were on Ocean Beach for at least 5 years before being discovered in 2011. So the actual murder occurred based on the forensic examination of the remains in 2006 or earlier. Some of this information is being released for the first time, specifically the descriptions of the clothes that Asian Doe was wearing at the time of death, and that although Asian Doe was a biological male, Asian Doe was wearing exclusively women's clothing. He was wearing a Chrysanthemum brand blue-ribbed short-sleeved shirt with a crew neck, size large. He was wearing a Raffaello brand shirt, size 10, and he was wearing a pair of women's pants and a bra.
So I can answer this in that I've done extensive research on that specific community back then in the area, and I've talked to a couple of people who they couldn't speak to the Han community or the Asian community, and because we didn't know what type of Asian or Eastern descent this person was from, I tried to focus on like anybody who did sex work back then and really from any area who was into trans sex work. And this was a long time ago, but I do remember them stressing to me like trans people in, you know, at the time I was thinking late 90s, to be honest with you. So I think it still applies though, because it's close. It like the whole transitioning process, it was much more difficult. It was not as widely accepted. There was a massive stigma, especially in specific communities all over the place, not just New York, but um, transitioning was a commitment that in order to see it through, it was a much more brutal process than now. And let's be real, a lot of the implants from back then are causing a lot of problems now. So the likelihood, I would think that they would have had implants. I feel like we would have been told that. And I think the likelihood's kind of low based on the age. You know what I mean? And the fact that they, at least initially, they insinuated this person was maybe engaging in some sort of sex work. I don't necessarily think that it would be as odd now, but I think maybe back then, not really something that I would consider unless they say that there were implants found, which they could easily pull the serial numbers from, as you said, right? But I think that if they did that, they would be able to narrow down a doctor. And regardless of HIPAA, because there's a murder involved, they could have at least, you know, tried to subpoena or petition or serve a warrant. And I think we'd have much more about him by now. So I don't necessarily think that he had implants for several reasons, but trans people don't always transition medically speaking. You know what I mean? Some of them live and are considered trans and say, I am trans. They are trans, but they don't get the surgery. Totally common, more common, I think, back then, in my opinion, than now, but I could be totally wrong. I don't know that there are any numbers on that, so to speak. So I'm just going by people that I asked around about. Because I was curious also about this, Melissa. Cross-dresser, go-go dancer was another thing I was curious about. There's like a lot of different options. They also had massage parlors back then where people would dress a specific way, and we didn't know as many details as we do now. I think this is kind of narrowing it down a little more, especially with the added information about, well, you know, not necessarily we kind of knew a couple of these things already, but the whole it was a violent death. That's something very specific. I do feel like if they had implants, we would know. You know what I mean? Because I also think that implants would show that they are living as a woman specifically, so they likely wouldn't really show or focus on the male, and they would straight up say like this person was living as a female because they would have the breasts, right? But that's just my opinion. I don't know. I could be wrong.
Both by the brand Bill Blass.
Hi, Kylie.
And with regard to the forensic reconstruction images, the task force was able to work with a National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, NCMEC, and a forensic artist examined the victim's skull to create the facial reconstructions.
Oh shit, there you go. Yeah, they examined the skull to create the reconstruction. So it was the skull reconstructionist. Interesting.
See here. And those reconstructions depict what the victim may have looked like prior to their disappearance and murder. We have two pictures of a person with short hair, one head on and one in the profile. And we have a third picture of an individual with long hair. Because the victim was wearing exclusively women's clothing at the time of death, it is possible that they identified as a woman or were known by others as being a woman. The Gilgo Beach Task Force also utilized genetic genealogy to learn more about this victim's specific ethnicity. It was previously known that this victim was of Asian descent. However, now we know that it is a strong likelihood that the victim is of Southern Chinese descent, Han Chinese descent. And Han Chinese is one of the 56 officially recognized ethnicities in the People's Republic of China. This is a significant development because unfortunately, South Asia is underrepresented in our genealogy databases, meaning there are not a lot of Asian profiles.
Yeah, I've never heard of this, Pat, and I seriously doubt that happened. That's wild.
In the database. Therefore, investigative genetic genealogy in this instance is a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge to identify this victim. And so far, it has proved to be difficult and has provided few leads. Hence, the purpose for us being here today. We're looking for the media's assistance, and we're looking for the public's assistance in helping us provide information on this victim to get.
No, I think you're giving good insight, Lori. I think you all are. I mean, pansexuality, in my opinion, a bit broad for back then. I don't necessarily know that that was even, I mean, it was a thing, but I don't know that it was widely accepted and discussed, or even like a popular thing for people to out themselves as, or to come out as, if you will. I would think that he might be more bisexual. I don't necessarily know. The thing is, he was a very bad sadist, so that kind of changes a lot of things involved with his sexuality, as far as like what he would do. And you have to remember, a lot of these serial killers, they have a lot of shame, but not necessarily because of like for the victim. It's like an internal shame or a hate for themselves, so they will deny doing anything with males, like Israel Keys, like Ted Bundy, or doing anything with a corpse. But the evidence shows that they definitely did something with a corpse, and they definitely did sexual things with males. But they just won't fucking admit it. So there is a sense of self-shame there that could be potentially something to touch on. I'd be curious to know if he was openly anything, or because I also think that some of the stuff that John Ray spewed about certain things, maybe even the swinging stuff, could be fucking hooey, in which case that changes a lot too, doesn't it? The whole thing about him, like with the cop, for example, like I guess that was what you were talking about, maybe, but that was like a swinging situation with Karen Vergata, supposedly. But again, that was from someone who John Ray got to give him a statement, which right away makes me go, and then we saw that person. She went on Ashley Banfield, and she could barely keep her eyes open. And there was just a lot of different shit she said compared to that affidavit. I looked into her personally. I don't know if I'm buying it. Just my opinion. Sorry, not sorry. But Lori Lowe, I think what you're saying is you're giving us this perspective of like a Carrie Bradshaw type in the big city, right? As opposed to what other stores there might be that were popular for people more in a younger age range. It would have been cheaper, right? And so I think that does also help as far as narrowing down maybe like the class or what type of situation a person is in. Because usually when you're in your early 20s, late teens, you're usually not balling, right? So I think it's good to state whether or not maybe that dress is kind of an odd thing for someone to wear in this situation. It's all this is all important and relevant. Thank you, guys.
This victim's name back. And I'll just come over. These are the pictures of the individual. We have a picture of Asian doe with short, as they would appear with short hair, and a picture of Asian doe as they would appear with longer hair. Now, with regard to outreach to the community, again, we've leaned on all our partners as we always do, but particularly in this instance, the New York City Police Department and the state troopers. We've asked for the NYPD's assistance in translating this flyer into Mandarin, into Cantonese, into Thai, and into Bahasa, which is an Indonesian language. And the NYPD will further assist in distributing flyers on the ground in the Asian communities across New York City. And again, as we know, there's a significant Asian population in New York City, so we thank them for their help. We've invited several Asian media outlets to be present here in the hopes that they can reach the Asian community directly and provide this information to those communities. Regarding our goals for doing this, this is a call to action. We want.
Also, Kenneth, this reminds me, if he's 17, he's not going to have breast implants at all. The earliest he could have gotten them in the States would have been 18. If it was out of the States, again, likely, unless he's Han Chinese, he's not from Thailand, he wouldn't have been able to do that. So the existence of breast implants would up his age a little bit. But also they wouldn't be old, right? Because they've narrowed down the time window to a point. In order for them to be old, he would have had to have gotten them that year. Also, I think that they would have served a search warrant and they'd know more about him by then, if so. Because regardless, even if they're done in Bolivia, even if they're done in South America, there are typically some sort of serial number. And I know that there were actually more than one kind. Someone said there was one kind back then. There were multiple kinds. Some of them burst. And one of my friend's mom's tits burst at a football game back then because they were putting them in women with they had this expanding shit in them. And she got them done outside of the US. And that expanding shit got infected and her tits popped and all the shit came out. And I guess that was saline, but they were lined with some stuff that was akin to, like, I don't know what you call it. It's almost like how the foam sealant gets bigger, but over time that happens. A very similar thing happened to a newer method used in South America that Nicki Minaj had done, and her ass exploded on a yacht and it looked like a beanbag. So that was happening early on in early breast implants that they were experimenting with, and they still haven't figured out the proper way to do it. And my friend's mom's tit popped from it. So, and I believe that was like 2002 or 3. So I know that those existed. But even those had fucking identification information on them. But interesting thoughts.
To enlist the public's help in trying to identify Asian doe. With regard to the translations, we hope that the public and the Asian media outlets will further assist us in translating and disseminating this information into additional Asian dialects, which will further aid in the process of identification. Again, this person had a name. This person had family.
So this is a great question. I want to pause for a second. This person had a name. This person had family. He just said it. You're saying it now. I'm gonna wildly speculate. I'm gonna take a guess. I don't usually do this, but I'm gonna do this for this one because I think there's a high possibility of it. If I had to pick a reason, I think if this person was a young Asian male in that age range, in that time frame, in that society, in that culture, if he came out, let's say, as trans or as a cross-dresser, that specific culture, that being the Chinese culture, they do things differently, just like the Japanese. There are very specific rules and things that you live by. You take your shoes off when you enter the house. You fucking go to school and you do fucking well. You stay on a schedule. There's like specific things that it's just like it's how you do it. The parents are extremely strict. Child rearing is enforced differently in that culture. I would wonder if perhaps that did not vibe well with the family, and thus they may have kicked this kid out or disowned them. And in that case, when that happens and the kid's gone forever, you're not thinking they're missing because you disown them or kick them out. Why am I wildly speculating and making that guess? Because it's happened to a lot of people who are trans or who are gay. And I mean, there's whole episodes on TV on Roseanne and shit about this kind of shit back in the day, you know? There's all your favorite shows have an episode where a kid was oppressed for being gay and kicked out of their house, at least back then. It makes me wonder if that's why they didn't report it, because they assumed that he's living that life and maybe until you don't want to live that, or until you straighten up, you can come back then. That's kind of a common thing in a lot of households in the South and very strict households in different cultures all over the world. So I would just guess that that could be a reason why. I'm hoping that they see this now and go, oh shit, oh fuck, and then they call. That would be ideal.
Family, this person had friends. We're reaching out to anyone who might have known this individual to help us with that identification. Again, I would just add with regard to DNA databases, those who would like to help identify Asian doe or any other victim or missing persons in the Asian or any other community to help. You can upload your DNA to Family Tree DNA and into GEDmatch Pro and opt into law enforcement matching. Contrary to popular opinion, law enforcement doesn't have access to all DNA databases. And this identification, this IgG technology that we use, as you can see, we don't.
This is a great fucking comment, Gen X. I would go into Judy Records. I would type in New York or Suffolk or any of the count. Like I would just Manhattan, New York. I would just put New York. And I would type in different keywords like breast implants or illegal back alley, this, that, the other, massage parlor busted. Well, not busted, but use specific lingo to try to narrow down cases where perhaps clinics were busted. And then I would look for that date range and I would see which clinics were operating based on who ended up getting busted and sued. It's not going to give you all of them, but also you have to be careful with what words you use, but you could narrow that down, I'm sure.
Just utilize it to identify suspects. We also use it to identify victims and to provide closure to the families of missing victims. If you really want to help, please consider uploading your DNA profile into those 2 commercial databases, which allow law enforcement to access that information, but only with the consent of the consumer. Now, third, we ask that if you were around in the late 90s and early 2000s, think about the people you associated with. Think about the people
I'm going to say no because they seem to think this person is from New York. And if you're going to traffic someone, you usually take them out of state. At least back then, trafficking wasn't as, I'm not going to say as obviously because of population, but it wasn't as, I guess, common, I would say. At least that's a difficult question. I mean, of course, they could have been. It's always a possibility, but I don't think this one was because of the location of where he was buried, where the evidence was found in conjunction with all of the other people found on that strip of beach and the circumstances, including the description we have of the crime scene, the blunt force trauma. I don't think traffickers would do that, nor do I think they, at least not at that time in that place. I don't think they would have buried him on the beach. You know what I mean? I think they would have dumped him in the ocean.
Did anyone of Asian descent go missing? We believe Asian doe may have been working as a sex worker around the time of their disappearance prior to 2006. We believe that they spent some time in New York City prior to their death. And we want to urge the public, don't discount someone just because you know them to be from somewhere outside of New York City. As we know, people
don't discount someone, especially if you know them to be outside of New York City. Well, now we're talking. Now maybe we're looking at New Jersey. Also, how far back in the 90s? Could it be 95 to 94? I mean, if we're going that far back, now we're in Rifkin territory.
People often come to New York City for a myriad of reasons. Prior to 2006, this person had friends, possible classmates, or co-workers, and a family. Someone knows who this individual is, and we need that person or persons to contact us. So that's what we're asking. Again, with the help of the media, Let's get these photos out. Let's get this information out.
So 2 things. Also totally possible. Family could maybe not be in this country, or they could be passed away. He could be a foreign exchange student who went off the radar. I would think we would have heard about that, but he also could have been someone visiting, traveling here, backpacking. However, he does say this person had like friends from school and stuff. It makes me think that he's pretty confident that this person spent time around the northeastern United States, at least. I'm curious to see if he slides in anything expanding it to outside of the US. But good comment. Love that. Also, if he was trafficked into the US, that could make it really difficult. This is true. And people have posited this before. And I've posited this before. Again, I'm curious why they say things about, you know, him maybe being from out of state, but they don't mention from out of the country. But also, good thought, good comment.
And let's identify Asian Doe. Crime Stoppers is offering a $2,500 reward for information leading to the identification of Asian Doe.
Kenneth, I would be curious. I don't know if you talk to that friend a lot. Have you shown them this case? I would ask them if they have any insight into the Han Chinese, HAN, and see if they have any insight into this situation. I would just show them Asian John Doe or Asian Doe and just ask them what they think. Give them a time frame. I'd be really curious to hear from someone who is both Chinese and a drag queen. That could be a very, very helpful. And I do wonder if they have any thoughts on not just the culture, but the environment and the potential possibilities of this person's circumstance, aside from what we already know, just because, you know, they obviously, I mean, definitely if they're Chinese, they might have some insight into culturally how that works with the response to a person potentially 17 or as old as 23 considering such a thing.
Anyone with information regarding this case or the identification of the victim is asked to contact Crime Stoppers at 1-800-220-TIPS, TIPS, or via email or the mobile app on the flyer. You can do so in your native language.
This is a great comment. So village, in the village on the streets or Times Square. Very good comment. The village had a classifieds in the back, didn't it? Like a hookup classifieds type thing with ads for parlors. Lori Lowe. Glad to see some native New Yorkers in here sharing valuable OSINT in addition to everybody else. I love this.
Translation services are available. So if you have difficulty with the English language, but you have information, provide it to us in your native language, and we will translate it. Again, please share this information far and wide, and let's.
So far, Military Ma, all we've seen is that he is that they have an updated sketch and more information, and they're trying to figure out who he is, Asian Doe. But so far, no real connection, Rex. So let's see.
Let's help get this victim identified and give this victim their name back. Prior to taking questions, I'm going to turn it over to the New York State Police. We have, as I've said, we've had Lieutenant Richard St. Preux, and he is going to introduce the Mandarin translator. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Thank you. Good morning. I'm Lieutenant.
Not yet. Consistent insomniac. But I'm curious.
Richard St. Preux.
Sorry, I'm curious if they will.
With the New York State Police, I cover the Bureau of Criminal Investigation.
Not yet.
I'm introducing Trooper Shin Sung Lee, who will be translating into Mandarin.
All right. I'm going to mute this while he reads and go over some of your questions. I sent you the link to the station broadcasting about the death of MSP trainee Enrique Delgado. Let me star that. Massachusetts. Oh, I saw something about the death of a trooper. Is that him? Okay, I'm gonna check that. All this before Giuliani, he cleaned up New York City. I don't know what he did with them because obviously they still existed, but they weren't on the streets. Neither was porn stores. I remember that. That was back when he was like, we're going to get rid of all the porn stores. We're going to do all this. And then there was like mafia pissed off. That was a whole thing. Oh, that was all because he was pissed at the mafia, right? Trying to identify a victim. No link discussed, but implied. Agreed. It's implied, but not directly stated. I think they're wide open on suspects. Agreed. I think looking backwards from Rex's searches will be key to expand out specific Asian Southwest sex worker preferences of John's in that area. Here's the thing. So a lot of people say, okay, he must have been seeking out, and I'm just going to give you another possibility, just so you know it, in case. And I want to get your thoughts on it. But everybody assumes that because he Googled Asian twink, that, he must have killed an Asian person who is of twink status. I mean, even I said earlier, but remember, he Googled Asian twink. That we're totally open on this being a possibility because of that. Totally open. Not negating that as a possibility. But another possibility is he was doing it for the same reason he was Googling Lisk investigation or John Bitroff or any of the other things he did about Lisk or, Jane Doe, whatever. Like when he's typing in these things, he could just be looking for updates on those victims because maybe he wants to see if they're being linked to someone else. Maybe he's curious. Maybe he went, oh, I only buried 9 people. Who did those other 2? You know what I mean? He could be looking into it for the same reason we are. I know it's bizarre, but he's also reading criminology books and books on forensics. He's obviously taking notes. He's reading John Douglas. He could just be wanting to see who else is operating or was operating on his turf. He could have been typing in Asian twink specifically because he just wanted to see some freaky porn in his eyes. He's like, oh, this is weird. He might have been hating on that specific genre, that specific lane. And that could explain why maybe he did think that this person was a female. He did take out Asian Doe. And maybe that blunt force trauma was because he wasn't actually expecting that, or it triggered him for some reason. He could also be looking up Asian twink because he might have read an ad from someone who advertised that and he wanted to know what twink meant. There's so many different things that could be the possibility. But I think Occam's razor tells us, because of the location, because of the information, the time frame, and obviously, in addition to that, Google search as circumstantial digital evidence could lead towards this. So yeah, also many other possibilities, but I agree. So let's keep listening. I'm going to try to shut up now and get through this.
Thank you, Lieutenant, and thank you, Trooper Lee. With that, I'll open it up to questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Mr. Tierney, did Rex Heuermann, was he known to search pornography websites for
True.
Asian men or women?
So, we have a bail document which details some of the internet searches done by the defendant, and some did contain searches using similar terms that you just described.
Okay, there we go. Just answer my question. So he had some searches, not just one, that fit what she just described. Great. I don't think he took meth. Just because I haven't seen anything to indicate he did. Totally possible though. It'd be wild if he was that fucking big doing it all the time. That'd be weird. I don't know how his metabolism works. You'd think he'd lose a little weight, but he got bigger.
Anything else?
Mr. Tierney, can you speak more about the manner of death in which this victim was discovered?
So yeah, it's a violent death, blunt force trauma, which led to the individual's death. So this was a violent.
I just think that you don't get much sleep if you're doing math. Like, I think if he was doing math, he wouldn't even care about sleep. He'd just do the math. I mean, you're going to stay up for days regardless, I think he was more of like trying to preserve his energy and do this the natural way. I know it sounds weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the meth thing. I haven't seen any indication of that, but I'm curious.
Assault resulting in the defendant's death. No, we don't have anyone there, but basically what it is the forensic anthropologists, forensic artists, they start at the skull, and then using the characteristics of the skull, they essentially create, and using their training, of course, they create the diagram of the individual. So we believe this is the most accurate possible depiction of the victim.
That's not true. That's not true. You can recover a lot of info without you don't need a cloud. They went back to pre-2001 and saw the changes he made on his basic system. If you're talking about like online searches specifically, I absolutely think that they can recover it. Absolutely. I mean, it's going to be hard as fuck, but I think they already did according to the affidavit, right? I mean, all a cloud is just a place separate where data is stored. You know what I mean? There's other older systems that store every single bit of it. Older search engines that keep every single bit of it, especially Google. Fuck, dude. Google fuck. I mean, that's how they run the way what do you call it? Google Trends. Like they're constantly recovering older data every day. Constantly recovering older data every day. Even though 2004 was when they started, that's basically how far back you can search. You have to remember, like, some of the data that they use for other historical trends information goes back to 98, 99 now, because they're constantly mining older data. And there's other ways that they could map that information back then. It just depends on the system. It seems that Rex was, sure, I agree with you, Kenneth. He was meticulous, but I mean, he took a lot of fucking risks even back then. And he seemed to make mistakes and learn from them. But the thing that's important is that tells us he made mistakes. And that's not good when you're a serial killer.
That was the language that the trooper, I'm sorry, Mandarin. Yeah. Yes.
Was there good DNA preserved at the crime scene, from prior to 2006? That's many years that the victim was there, Asian Joe.
Yeah.
Is there DNA you can work with that maybe could tie this victim?
I mean, I think you never say never. We've seen the way that the DNA technology has evolved. So we do have DNA, and so we're working with it.
Oh, damn.
I'll get to you in a second.
I presume Canada. Sorry, Kenneth.
For somebody not to be identified for such a long period of time, that no one has come forward and said they think that it's your career. How rare is that?
It's not unheard of, especially when you're talking about a crime of this nature, and you're talking about a community that's an immigrant community that tends to be insular. So again, we think a lot of times, and again.
This is very true. Very, very true. Canada does have they also have a big Vietnamese population, right? I remember when I was there was a ton of delicious Vietnamese food.
This person, we believe, was brought from outside the jurisdiction into the jurisdiction. So when you combine all those things, it's not that unusual. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that.
I want to see old copies of the Village Voice. I bet we could find some on places like newspapers.com. I'd start looking there, people.
We send out the information far and wide, not just to Suffolk County, not just to New York, but across the country and across the world.
Okay. Across the world. So we have expanded it. Fantastic.
Were there any similarities in the way that this body was disposed of with those that were left nearby? And are you considering Rex Zimmerman a suspect in this case?
So if you look at where it was situated, I think it was about 300 or so feet from Megan Waterman in that same.
It was 300 feet from Megan Waterman. I want to answer this military bot. Yes, I've talked about this in the past. Look, people disagree with me all the time about this, and it's fine. But I have maybe a different viewpoint than others. I know everything about Ken, about the Catholic priest. Also, there's multiple Kenneth Heuermans. Some of them are not related to Rex. I think that people often conflate both of those records because at one point or another, both were in that diocese. I know that a lot of people like to presume that because Rex has a potential relative who is a priest or minister or whatever, diddling kids, that he church swapped. He went between, I believe, Catholic and I think Methodist. I don't remember the other one. The obvious. Oh, it must be his uncle must have done something to him, or his uncle must have trained him in the art of murder. And like, no. His uncle, if you read the court records, focused on a specific age range and sex that were not what Rex was. There's also absolutely no proof of that. There's also no indication that he ever even attended that church. It might even seem that some of the records have been mixed in for a different Kenneth Heuerman, who, believe it or not, same age range, who ended up moving to Ohio. And simultaneously, I just don't, I mean, call it what you want. Profile wise, it just absolutely makes no sense. Age range, potential possibility, court records, considering the fact that the police were completely up this dude's ass the second this case went to trial and was taken seriously involving Kenneth. They would have seen something like that. They were up his ass. All right. They would have known. There would have been some indication in such a deep investigation with so many witnesses interviewed with multiple lawyers. Like somebody would have said something. And I think that, could it be in his genes that there's a couple other fuckface peckerheads out there doing horrible shit? Absolutely. Do I think that he was abused or tortured by this mysterious uncle who happens to have a bad rap and the same name as multiple other priests in the same age range? Does this bear any fruit as far as potentially being a reason why Rex did what he did, allegedly, supposedly? No, I think it's fucking hooey. I think people are trying to make it more than it is. I have no reason to lie about that, but I also have no reason to make up shit. So I'm not too hard on that. I'm like, okay, whatever. The time frame just wouldn't have worked. Rex would have been 4? To me, it's kind of as crazy as the whole Victoria thing, especially when you consider the profile of those victims. The other thing that I just want to put out there now, the whole Alan Packa shit. I don't. First of all, that guy was renting his house out. There are property records. I'm not going to put them up. I think that people have dragged all that shit through the mud. Was Alan Packa or whatever a prick? Yeah, totally. Whatever. He fucking sucks. Is he a piece of shit? Sure. Allegedly, supposedly for entertainment purposes only. Total piece of shit. Fine. Do I think that he is running a sex ring with all these people with the intent of killing women, hanging out with a pedo priest, destroying Shannon, killing her, like all this shit they're tying into him? No, because in the time when that was going on, he was not living there. He owns the place. He's a landlord. He lived in Florida, I believe. He might have even been in Jersey and then Florida, but regardless, homie was renting that place out. It's all public data. You can find it. People don't want to accept that. They want there to be a big conspiracy. So I don't think any of that's true. It's not that I don't think it's true that this person exists. I just don't think it has anything to do with this personally. I just want to put that out there. I'm not saying you never said any of that shit, Military Ma. I'm just answering your question. In addition, the other big one that comes with the priest thing. I definitely think they've looked into it, but I don't think the priest was there at the time. We don't know that he even knew Rex. It seems from a lot of the things that we've seen and heard, some of the family was estranged from each other. There's a huge possibility that that guy was the creepy or weird cousin we don't hang out with, Dad's fighting with. There's also a possibility that this is just a totally different human. People are trying to connect to him. And that the other Kenneth was possibly already in Ohio. There's just a lot of things here that people are just assuming. And so I don't subscribe to that, but bless them if they find something. I just, I don't think it'll help any of these cases either. So I just kind of avoid it. Yes, Othram. Well, I wouldn't say they do the best. To be fair, I think they're pretty equal to Parabon. They both do. Parabon does wild shit that is amazingly good. Othram has more. I'm just gonna say it. I think Othram has more quality. I mean, more quantity, and not as good quality. And I think Parabon has more quality, but doesn't take on a quantity of the quantity that Othram does. So they both have their positives and negatives. But for Parabon, you need a lot more DNA and a specific kind. And for Othram, they can do a lot more with a little, at least enough to help these cases. I'm going to keep going. Oh, I'm going to try to keep going. Let's see. True. Why is this taking forever? Let's
stretch
There we
of
go.
Parkway. So it's between Megan Waterman and Jessica Taylor. And, you know, as we've said all along, each one of these, these victims, it's a separate crime scene. Start from that separate crime scene and you work your way up, which we're doing. And, you know, it's all nice to speculate, but it, you know, basically doesn't matter until you can bring charges. And we're certainly not at that stage.
Is there any similarities in the way that the body was found?
Well, I think probably what you're referencing is specifically with regard to the Gilgo 4. Those were uniquely, you know, they were almost identical, and they're, you know, unique from the other bodies.
Was there other DNA evidence found with this victim that you don't believe belonged to this victim?
There's always evidence at the scene, and, you know, we're analyzing that evidence, and, you know, if it bears fruit and results in charges, we'll talk about it at that time.
Mr. Tierney, when you talked about how this victim was found wearing clothing, and you talked about the other victims you go before, was there any other material, not burlap, but anything else, a sheet, a pillowcase, anything at all that was found?
I'm not entirely certain. I know specifically that that this victim was clad in the clothes that we've described.
You've been watching live as Suffolk District Attorney Ray Tierney reveals new details about one of the Gilgo Beach murder victims, the victim known as Asian Doe. That was a body.
Very rarely, AJ. Most people do it and then they stay addicted for a very long time. It is not a drug that you dabble in here and there. It's not like I can have a cocktail and not get drunk. No, it's like heroin.
And remains that were found in 2011
As far as addictiveness, in my opinion.
Along Ocean Parkway near Gilgo Beach, a biological male of Asian descent that the district attorney just said was wearing women's clothing. The district attorney's office also releasing new images of what that victim may have looked like. We have those posted on our website, news12.com. We'll be right back.
Interesting. Oh, yeah, and we're behind, so we can always come back. All right. Wait, was that it?
Happy Monday. I'm meteorologist Hope Asalco with your Tri-State
Hey,
Weather
Hope.
Outlook. So today, a wonderful day. We take that sunny streak even into the start of the work week. Temperatures will be in the upper 70s.
I'm looking at something
Got the
real
low
quick.
humidity, a few.
What is this?
Of the mayor and top administration officials. Now, in a statement, the mayor expressed his gratitude towards Zornberg, saying in
I saw
part,
something
quote,
about a
"We
case.
appreciate
I was
all the work."
curious about. Hold
Today
on.
in Bed-Stuy, the Department of Education says students will return to Brighter Choice Community School after a fire last Friday morning. According to the fire department, someone set the paper dispenser in the school on fire. We're told more than 200 students were
Okay.
evacuated and taken.
I'm gonna play this because I see something about a little girl who went missing. I think this is the same case, and I do want to see what this is about because it's very interesting to me. But I'm going to keep oh my god, I got so fucking far behind you guys. I'm gonna have to go back and read a lot of these comments. But I'm very curious about this. I want to see if they mention this little girl. I saw her picture.
PS 25, a few blocks away from dismissal. The FDNY also took the school's janitor to Woodhull Hospital for smoke inhalation. As kids return today, that DOE leaders say the safety and well-being of their students and their staff is their top priority. Well, the MTA says more cameras are coming to new bus routes as they continue their crusade against blocked bus lanes. They will be at 20 new routes across the 5 boroughs, and a total of 1,000 buses will have those cameras by the end of the month. There will be 7 Brooklyn routes getting those cameras: the B, 25, 26, 35, 41, 42, 46, and 82. If you are caught blocking the bus lanes, you won't get fined just yet. MTA says there's a 60-day warning period from when those cameras turn on this month. But after that, any violators can expect fines starting at $50 and $250 for repeat offenders.
Well, happening today, a man wanted in connection with the killing of a Jersey City teacher faces a judge. Liner Melendez-Lopez is back in the U.S. facing murder charges in the death of Luz Hernandez. She died February last year. He was just sent here Wednesday after being arrested in Colombia more than a year ago. Arraignment is at 9 this morning. Cesar Santana is also charged. He's the father of Hernandez's children.
5 years ago today, a little girl went missing at a Cumberland County park. Family, friends, and police are still seeking answers on how Dulce Alaves disappeared in broad daylight while playing with her brother at Bridgeton City Park. She was 5 at the time, and each year...
This case, dude, Dulce Alaves is so sad. Ugh. I'm sorry. I'm going to play it. This bums me out. This poor little girl, dude.
Since her disappearance, the community gathers to raise awareness with the hope that investigators will be able to find her. That gathering begins at 4. Those attending are being asked to wear yellow, the color Dulce was last seen wearing the day she disappeared. And since her disappearance, investigators have been on the search for this man they believe may have lured Dulce. Police say he was driving a red van and describe him as 5'6", seen wearing red pants and orange sneakers. Authorities are asking anyone who...
That is a wild outfit to wear too. Red pants, orange sneakers. Big red van. And look at how specific. I wish they wouldn't cut his fucking face off. That would be helpful. Maybe lower the banner a little bit, guys. Very specific looking face. Very interesting.
May know anything about this person to contact them.
Well, gas prices are steadily decreasing, and experts say this trend could continue.
Okay, I'm going to show you some more on Dulce, actually. Yeah, this is... I can't believe they haven't found more on this yet. Yeah, must have been a crime of that. Nicole, goddamn, you're smart. Exactly. Like, who would wear something that bright if it were planned? This is a really great point. That guy looks very specific. Welcome, Jamie Lunes. I don't know if you've been here before. Hello. We used to do coke at weddings. True. The 80s were crazy. I didn't, but a lot of people I know did. Yeah, we're gonna look into this. It is sad and weird. It's very upsetting. I just kind of want to... Maybe I'll show you guys something on her before we leave, because I'm very curious about this.
The next several months.
Also, agreed, dude. It is kind of wild how they're just like, and next at 9, right after telling you something horrific. Yeah, someone would remember that outfit. That's great. The motherfuckers dressed like Ronald McDonald.
News 12's Lauren Dew
Oh, but also I'm gonna let it play a little because I want to see how much y'all are paying for gas in New York. Sorry.
is at the Wawa in Mountain Lakes. And Lauren,
Wawa.
what's the price of gas there?
Sima, under $3 a gallon for gas,
Wawa.
regular gas here on Route 46 at the Wawa in Mountain Lakes. That's $2.95 here. That is below the New Jersey average this morning. Average is $3.10, down from last month's $3.29. And a year ago, we were paying $3.75, according to AAA. National gas prices have not been below $3 in 3.5 years. When gas is like this, experts say it's bad for the big oil companies, but it could be good for your local gas station.
I just want everyone to remember this when people are bitching about how during this administration the gas prices were so high. Excuse me, we're living it. looking pretty low in Jersey, is all I'm saying.
And retailers don't exactly rush to drop their prices.
So they're doing well. Even the off-price folks, the BJ's, the Costco's, the Wawas, they're doing
Wawas.
terrific. This is a big inning for
Wait,
them.
what? Hold up. Over 4 a gallon here? When I was in LA last time, it was insanely high. It was like 5 or 6, I think. That was a long time ago, but we pay $4.59. Jesus. We don't pay that much. We pay a little over 3, I think. Fuck.
And it promises to be that going into 2025 as well.
True.
Gas
Thank you.
prices do tend to drop this time of the year. So as we begin the new school year, head into the holidays, many experts do think that nationwide, we could get that national gas average below $3 a gallon. So as you can imagine, many are pretty pumped to hear that.
This morning, the FBI is continuing to investigate after the agency
Thank
says
you,
former
Kenneth.
President Trump was the target in what appears to be another.
Okay. 245 in South Dakota. What the fuck? Really? Oh, shit. And an outfit like that climbing in or out of a red van? That's not conspicuous a bit. Exactly. Also, Kenneth, thank you so much. He put a PDF of Dan Labs in North America in the Discord. Excellent. Excellent. The Italian club sandwich at Wawa is literally, fuck, I can never have a Wawa because we don't have that here and I want one. I've heard it's the Buc-ee's of the North. Yeah, shit, dude, 8. Fuck. Why is that? Almost 4 where I am. Oh my God, gas is different everywhere. This is wild. So cheap in the Dakotas, though. In South, is that why Teen Mom Chelsea's there? She's trying to save that money so her and Colt can sell more horns at a new store where no one's going to buy horns. It's the only reason I had access to Colt was because I went to Seven Sisters College full of trust fundy kids. Yeah, that whole like Coke era blows my mind. No pun intended. It's just like, damn, people spend a lot of money on that stuff. California has additional taxes. It's super strict on quality of gas. Ah, that's a good point, Stephanie. I gotta head east, damn it. Well, Helen needs that quality gas, though. Pretty pumped, no pun intended. Teen Wildflowers. You're hilarious. I used to be like, you took more. Go get, oh, you're talking about crack? I had a roommate who did crack. He was a bit out there, you know? It wasn't something you just did once. He would do it till I hogtied him and called his parents. $4.59 for cheap watered down. Oh, okay. Jamie Lunez is laughing, finds this hilarious. I meant DNA Labs, not Dan Labs. I don't know who Dan is. I assumed you knew of a lab named Dan. It's $4.90 in Seattle. Damn it, Seattle. What's going on? Great sandwiches. Damn it, I heard y'all had a Thanksgiving one at the Wawa. I've heard a lot about it. I want it. We do need a Wawa, Des. They're giving away Thanksgiving sandwiches for under $5 at a Wawa, and we can't have it. And you guys want Buc-ee's. Let's switch. Gas gets cheaper the further east you go, or so it seems. It's hovering right under $3 in Kansas, Nicole. Who do we email? Please drop Discord link. Okay. Let me pull that up for you. Meanwhile, what do you think of the new news? New info on Asian dough. Apparently, we're now worldwide with this shit. Holy fuck. I was hoping they would narrow it, but I mean, they're kind of all over the map, quite literally and figuratively speaking. But okay, I guess if that's what we got to do, we got to do. I'm glad they narrowed down a specific type of Asian. That helps a lot with the Han. Now we can kind of look at Han communities and kind of try to narrow down a little more about this kid. All right, let me get you the Discord link. And I have to make it so that, hold on one second, kids. Dad's going to edit the invite link so that it stays good forever. Expires never. Generate new link. All right, here we go. Here's another one. And the one you used before could also, I think, be used forever. There you go. And I will highlight it. Hello, Freebase Hacker. How are you doing? We were just talking about freebasing. Okay, moving on. Beach Bum. Hello. Curious Wendy, where I'm in Canada, it's $5.50 a gallon. Damn. $4.79 here in Hawaii. Defiant B. Oh my God, I miss Hawaii. Where are you? Maui? Oahu? Where you at? Where you at? No, not crack. Coke. Oh shit. Well, no, Coke is the one that people can do, and then they'll do it at parties and they'll stop, and then it'll destroy their life all at once, right? Meth is the one that you do it once, and once is a whole year. And then crack is the one where you do it once and then it's really hard to come down, and then you sometimes almost die, or you do die. It's a lot. It's a lot. Drugs are very rough. Honestly, Rex just doesn't look like he did much that would make him lose weight. And a lot of those drugs, especially meth, crack, and coke, seem to make people a bit clammy and lose weight if they have an addiction. I mean, I would think if he's killing as much as it seems, that could lead to addiction. Yes, Freebase Hacker does like crack. Teen Mom Chelsea's in my town. I know she's trying to get that sweet, sweet, cheap gas. What the fuck is a liter, Kenneth? A liter of cola? Just learning Discord. Grammy Shell, you're going to be great. You're going to love it. Excellent news, Adam. Wawa Turkey Hill sheets and rudders are on almost every corner of my... Oh, Mary, quit bragging about your Wawa. I want the Wawa. Great live pop-up. Thank you. Who remembers the awesome Kmart sandwiches? I don't. I wish I did. Sorry on the run. Please check out what's going on in MA with the trooper who died of a beating. These fucking troopers gone wild. I'm happy that there are more details in Asian Doe's case. Me too. Yeah, Asian election year, we're always getting reamed by the government. It's 121 in Texas, California per count. Oh my God. Fuck. Having Italian wedding soup, fig Newtons, and a Coke for breakfast. I'm off my meds. Am I off topic again? You're on topic because you are eating like me in 1999. What are you doing here with the fig Newtons? Is it fruit? Is it cake? Rex is an excellent suspect, but I wouldn't rule out a client surprise killing. That's what I'm saying, because like the chance of somebody driving out to the beach to do something with a lady, and then it ends up being a man, and then they beat them. That's always a possibility, right? That could be why Rex was looking, or it could be because Rex did it, you know? If they figure out who he is. Me too. Loved Kmart subs. Here's the Discord, by the way, everyone. The prices of food at McDonald's do vary greatly by location. That is absolutely true. Breakfast of champions. Maybe he dyed his hair blonde. Who? Asian male? Hilby, you think maybe the Miss H could be involved as she traveled to different countries? No, I don't think she was involved at all. So like, okay. I wonder if there was hair. I feel like they would have tested the environment to see where the person lived before, because aren't there decent environmental isotopes that could narrow it down? So that's the thing. If you're talking, are you talking about, wait. Oh, I see what you mean. Where the person, okay. Yes, but it also really depends, because if it was short hair, if it was long hair, if it had a root, if it didn't have a root, how long it'd been there. They found it 5 years at minimum after the death. So decomp, and you have to consider the hurricane that had just happened. That definitely roughed up the area quite a bit. They did use environmental isotope technology in Tara Grinstead's case in Georgia. So possible, maybe. It just depends on the degradation, I would say. That is an Ed question, though. I will star that. So if I ever get to ask Ed questions again, we can throw that in there. Right, says Loylo. Jamie is still laughing. Jamie, you are out of control. You are feral. Welcome to the cult. Hawaii Island, Puna District, Hilo side. Oh my God, I've been to Hilo and I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I will come visit. what is it? Blue Note? Is that the comedy club there? I'll try to get in. I missed most of the information on Asian male. We posted, or I believe someone posted in Discord. Did you, Turbo? But I will link you to the press conference. Really, you could just go to News 12. I'll put a link below for you, JB. Or you just rewind on this if you want, based on where Aunt Deb was. Not Aunt Deb, Asian Doe. Damn it. I'm pretty confident they are linked to Rex. Sure, possible. But you got to keep in mind there were several other serial killers who also dumped in or around that area before him. And so we need to consider, could Asian Doe overlap with any of those, depending on the oldest potential date for them being left there, which we also know has expanded a little bit too into the late 90s. You're done on crack. Yep, you're done. Crack is whack. Thanks, Dad. Hey, you're welcome, Grammy Michelle. Shell. Thank you, OB. Hey, you're welcome, Consistent Insomniac. I usually don't eat breakfast at all, so I don't have regular breakfast food in the house. Same. Free-based, not free-base. Free BST, not free-based. It's a unit. No, I know. I just like saying free-based. It's very funny to me. Meth is one where you take shit apart like shit business, or you dig a lot of holes. Oh, Melissa, I get it. Lane Coast sandwiches, Route 22, New Jersey. Very jealous of that. Why can't I buy food in gas stations? I know all of the ones in our gas stations suck, or there's one good one that's a Chinese place. There's a couple good taco places. One of my brothers-in-law has addiction issues, a major red flag for us when he falls out is weight loss. Exactly. And it doesn't seem Rex has ever been small except when he was younger. 1 liter is oh, Jesus, you guys pay so much in gas. Florida is so different. Yeah, I think everywhere is kind of different post-COVID, right? I will have to replay a bit. When college kid calls mom, you answer, oh, totally. Totally. You got to answer. You're not going to hear from them for another fucking week or until they need something. You can take a girl out of NYC, but you can't take the NYC out of the girl. That is true. I think. I don't know. I went to McDonald's yesterday. 6 McDoubles and a large fry was $31. Fuck them. That's insane. What? Did they have fucking gold on them? Did Grimace take a shit on them? Did he shit gold on them? What is going on? The Asian Doe case, if hair dye was a factor, would likely have been more noted in the autopsy findings, either visually or through chemical testing. True, but it depends whether or not that growth. Here's the other thing, like not a lot of Asian people dye their hair blonde because it comes out dark orange. Hairdressers in the chat, let me know. I don't know if that's too possible for, I feel like they would have, I don't know, maybe. I'm not even saying they found hair or anything like that. They might not have that kind of, yeah, that's what I'm wondering if they don't have it. Like, because I feel like if there was hair left over, they could have told us something more on the length, but because they're showing 2 different lengths makes me think that they don't. Would the time frame of Asian male allow for cross-referencing the sex worker ads or form? Absolutely. Absolutely. Especially if, and in the Village Voice. With Rex, the calls to the family, specifically the younger sister of one of the victims, was so disturbing. My wife's theory is he didn't act alone, but I think he probably did act alone. I think he probably did act alone too. I think that somebody would have thrown him under the bus right now, or they would have connected him to somebody who he was working with by now, and they would have flipped. Blue Note is Oahu. We have no venues here. Oh, fuck. Well, hell yeah. I'll come to your hail. Hell yeah. If you can't eliminate Rex, he's your guy, I think. Possible. Absolutely. Digging holes is like taking Earth apart, yes, and then they put Earth back together. You can take the girl out of New Jersey, but you can't take the New Jersey out of her hair. That is hilarious. Starring that, that's a shirt. You have to mobile order fast food much cheaper. Oh, it's a long process. Yes, it is. Oh, fuck, dude. I'm going to the palace. I figured you'd be familiar with who hasn't that none as you were. Yeah, I just think it's funny to say free-based. Also, whenever I would read Leet back in the day, I would say L33T. Like, I would get the 7, but I wouldn't say E's, and it would piss people off. Hee Grimace, yes. Double process to dye hair that dark, yeah. Anything is possible. Probabilities are your friend. True. No, it's because they don't know how. Hairdresser here, any type of hair can be dyed. No, I know, but we're talking about early 2000s. The shit we do now. TikTok, they fucking, oh my God, I can't even. Very, very hard to get that that dark of hair blonde. Yeah, because it's also blue tones, right? I saw an article stating fast food was considered a luxury item now. Absolutely. Especially airport, anything is a luxury item in my opinion. You're fucking funny. 5 times over here. But a good, yeah. Thank you so much. Hey, thank you guys for hanging out. You have black hair naturally. Do you have blue tone? You look like you have red tones though. So people with blue tones in their hair, Lori, you know how when they dye it, you have to strip it of that, right? I just wonder. I feel like it would be, yeah, it would be. You have red, so I do. You blame the node. I do wonder if that was something that would have been a possibility. I mean, it's always a possibility, but I just don't know that it was that common. But maybe, it's hard to get out. It's also the hardest to get into hair. Oh yeah, Adam and Lori. Look at the hairdressers in the chat. Look at the hairdressers in the chat. I am loving this. Getting a tummy ache. The Italian wedding soup and Fig Newtons are fighting like Mussolini and Churchill. Starring it. Put that on a shirt. That's funny. I want to go to platinum hair, but the process is questionable. Also, at this point, I'm like, I don't want it all to fall out. Double process. I was in my salon from back there. Ha ha ha. Yeah, click the feral like, you little feral children. I have a ginger kid. My hair takes red really easily. Oh, sick. We got a ginger Jean in the chat. She should. Melissa should. She's fucking hilarious, dude. All right, here's what I'm thinking. I want to learn a little more about Dulce, and then we're going to go because I have to do stuff. Specifically, I have to go today. Boyfriend's mom and sister are coming into town. So I want to make sure that I get a lot done and I'm able to hang out with them ASAP. But I also want to learn a little bit about this. I want to show you guys this because they did bring this up earlier. And this is a very wild ass case. So let's peep this. And I'm trying to think we'll just do this one. Let's watch this one.
Tomorrow marks 4 years since the disappearance of Dulce Maria Alaves. She was 5 years old when she was last seen playing with her little brother at a park in Cumberland County. Her family has never given up hope, though, that she might be found. Action News reporter Katie Catro live for us now in Bridgeton with more on this story. Katie.
Shari, this is a tightly knit community, and they are determined to find that missing puzzle piece to find Dulce.
It's really hard still after 4 years.
Authorities continue to search for Dulce Maria Alaves, who vanished 4 years ago. She was 5 years old, last seen playing with her younger brother at Bridgeton City Park in Cumberland County on the afternoon of September 16th in 2019. On the day of her disappearance, Dulce's mother let the children run off to play on the swings at the playground. Alaves Perez and her younger sister stayed inside her vehicle while the children played. She would later find her younger son crying, and Dulce was nowhere to be seen. Police have now released an age progression photo of what Dulce might look like today.
I still see her as the 5-year-old baby. Yeah, we're still, prayerfully praying she does come back home.
Monica Mason says she knew Dulce when she attended West Avenue Elementary.
Friendly, kid friendly. She was really friendly with everybody. Yes. And we miss her. We really miss her a lot.
About 1 month after she disappeared, authorities released a sketch of a man who remains a person of interest.
Absent any indication that any foul play other than her being taken has happened, I believe she's still alive.
Bridgeton's police chief says his department is approaching the case with the same vigor and determination as if it were one of their own children missing.
Each one of those officers and detectives that are investigating have children. And you can't help as a police officer to put yourself in somebody else's position if one of your children went missing.
Here at Bridgeton City Park, a vigil is scheduled to happen tomorrow afternoon at 4:30. We did speak with Dulce's mother over the phone. She says she plans to be at that vigil, and she's also thankful to the community for continuing to look for her daughter. No arrests have been made, so if you have any information, police want to hear from you. Reporting live in Bridgeton, Katie Catro, Channel 6, Action News. Rick?
All right. That's interesting. Well, I think that we're going to have to talk some more about Dulce in the future. I'll prepare some stuff for her. I'm so sorry, Kenneth. I know it's sad, but that was a very unique sketch. I feel like there could be some possibilities for this. Look at that. What is that? He definitely had some acne right here. Razor bumps, maybe. This can tell us a lot, I think. Also, this is a very specific face. I do wonder. I have done this before where I've ran sketches like this through Pim Eyes and Tenai for results. I do wonder. I mean, I'm sure someone's done that, but it's a very specific face for that area. Yeah, I already got some sleep, and I have not been on since 11. I got some sleep in between that and a lot before that, but I am going to go get some stuff done and take a nap and then probably hang out. I mean, definitely hang out with the fam. But thank you guys so much. I appreciate you turning in. This was my first live press conference. I guess reacting to one. I do think that there was a lot that we can infer. There was a lot that was stated, and very fascinating stuff. So I'm very curious about Dulce's case. Glad that ended up popping on the news. We can look at that in the future. There's just a lot that was said without being said also that kind of I wish they would have clarified a little more. There's a lot of moments where I'm like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. But there's other moments where I was like, interesting. Thank you for tossing me that chum. So yeah, what do you guys think? You can talk about it in Discord. I posted the Discord in the chat. Let me see. Is it still the same link? Nope. I already deleted that. So I can't repaste it, but it's in the chat. I'll post it below. A lot of between the lines. A lot. Free based. I'm gonna call you that forever. Thank you for the fire emojis. I want to say emoji, but I'm trying to correct myself. That search just helped solve celebrity number 6. So yes, let's run it through. Agree. I have to go, Ernie Birdie, my little juggalo. Pop. Enjoy your day. CC. Thank you. I don't know what that means, Jacqueline, but thank you. I will enjoy my day. Ernie Birdie, have fun. Gathering among the juggalos with your hatchet. Adam, goodbye. Oh, I'm cheek crazy, dude. I'm a cheeky bitch. Big old cheeky bitch. How often are missing children found safe and healthy with a family who, quote, adopted them? Shit. I wish I had that statistic on me. Not too often, but there have been cases where people are found. I mean, JC Dugard, there's like a ton where kids have been found way later. There's also other ones where kids are found, not necessarily found, but they're too young to understand what's going on. They think they've been adopted. They hit their teens. They're starting to apply for college. They don't have a social security number. And they end up either being very upset at their regular family and having to integrate back with their new family, or vice versa, which is an odd situation. But it's definitely happened a lot. Have a great rest of your Monday to you too, Des. Gosh, what beautiful weather we're having in Texas. I hope it's okay down there, Miss Pox. Hello, Miss Pox. I was thinking the same thing about the surprise factor. If you aligned they were a biological and then found out they were wrong. Dude, I would love to identify someone in this case. I can't stop thinking about like Peaches, but Asian male Doe, I feel like knowing that he's Han is going to help so much. I really do. It's a community to focus on. I have a feeling, though, Kenneth was mentioning something similar earlier about like the obvious possibilities. I do think he's going to be, me personally, I think he's going to be someone from New York or Jersey. And yeah, I think that the Han community thing is going to be a key to this. Just my opinion. Just a little hunch. I don't know. Might not, but who knows? The Dulce Maria Alvarez and this guy. Reminds me exactly of Lena Sardar kill, though. Very interesting. All right. Well, I love you guys. You're the best. Thanks for tuning in. I do think they made a big deal about that, though. So many thoughts. My wife's Asian dentist is named Dr. Han at the Hab Institute. Same Han. I don't know. I think they mean like Han just in general, like the specific type of ethnicity, but I don't know. I maybe you could ask. I say if you know anybody who is Chinese who's interested in true crime or would be open to answering questions and from that area, maybe, or just has some potential leads into information on the culture that might be a little bit different, specifically Han, that could be very helpful. Anyway, I love you guys. I'm gonna keep answering questions all day if I don't go, but I think you're the best, and you have a good day. And yeah. I'll see you throughout the week. I froze. All right, that's a sign. We gotta go. We gotta fucking go. It's freezing. It's time to go. Goodbye. It's so frozen that it's not even doing the end stream button. That's great. Fucking stream live. This is why I stream at night, you guys. This is why I stream at night.